States and around the world to bring you today's top stories happening now. President Bush on setbacks and sacrifices in Iraq. Will he send in more troops to try to ease the killing and the chaos? We'll have all the headlines from his year-end news conference and consider whether the president is trying to reinvent himself. The president's new Pentagon chief is on the ground in Iraq right now. What is Robert Gates saying about the prospect of a surge in troop strength? We'll get a report from our Jamie McIntyre. He's the only TV correspondent traveling with the new defense secretary. And what's missing from the Republican presidential field? A new face in the crowd says he knows, and he's jumping in to fill the void. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. President Bush says he's still deciding his next moves in Iraq, but he insists he's open to new ideas from every corridor, including from Democrats. The commander-in-chief held a news conference today near the close of a bloody year in Iraq and on the brink of a new political era here in Washington. He faced reporters even as his brand new defense secretary, Robert Gates, was getting a first-hand look at the situation in Iraq. Our senior Pentagon correspondent, Jamie McIntyre, is in Baghdad. Our chief national correspondent, John King, is also standing by. Let's go to the White House. Our correspondent, Suzanne Malveaux, with the latest on the president's news conference today. Suzanne?
Well, Wolf, really the final news conference is a chance for the president to press the reset button, to give his New Year's resolution, if you will. The president vowing several times not only to work with Republicans, but Democrats as well, to come up with some sort of Iraq policy that is successful, but also one that the American people can get behind. Now, we heard the president earlier today saying all options are still on the table, including sending more U.S. troops. That is an unpopular prospect among the Joint Chiefs of Staff. But apparently he is already laying the groundwork, the president calling to expand the armed forces overall. And that is a move very significant here that flies in the face of his departing Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld, who had advocated for a leaner fighting force.
I'm inclined to believe that we need to increase in the permanent size of both the United States Army and the United States Marines. I've asked Secretary Gates to determine how such an increase could take place and report back to me as quickly as possible.
And Wolf, also significant, the president is no longer claiming that the U.S. is absolutely winning in Iraq, as he had just done 6 weeks ago during the campaign. The president, however, saying he does believe that victory is achievable, and he also believes that ultimately he did make the right decision in invading Iraq. Wolf?
All right, Suzanne. Suzanne's going to be back with us in the next hour. Meantime, the top Senate Democrat is taking a new jab at President Bush on Iraq, despite his talk of bipartisanship during his news conference. Incoming Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid issued a statement saying, "It's heartening to see that President Bush has reversed his position, rejected the failed Rumsfeld doctrine, and heeded Democratic calls to increase the size of the military." Reid goes on to say, quote, "Unfortunately, it is troubling to see that he still does not understand the need for urgent change in Iraq." The president's new defense secretary, Robert Gates, isn't wasting any time getting the lay of the land in Iraq. He's there right now. And our senior Pentagon correspondent, Jamie McIntyre, is the only TV correspondent traveling with him. Jamie?
Wolf, just 3 days on the job, and Robert Gates is here as promised to confer with American military commanders about how to turn around the deteriorating situation in Iraq.
The trip is part of the overall assessment that the President has asked me to do. As I indicated at the confirmation hearing, I've been participating in NSC meetings. I've been participating in a lot of briefings at the Department of Defense after the Senate confirmed me. But this trip is really an important piece of that in terms of getting a feel for what we in the agency used to call ground truth.
During his confirmation hearings, Gates said he hoped commanders here might be more candid with him now as defense secretary than they were in September when we met with them as a member of the Iraq Study Group. As for which way he's leaning on the question of whether to surge or not to surge U.S. troops into Iraq, Gates gave no hint. Wolf?
Jamie McIntyre is the only TV reporter traveling with the defense secretary in Iraq. We'll be hearing a lot more from him coming up in the next hour right here in the Situation Room. Fresh from all the bloodshed in Baghdad today, even as Robert Gates began his visit there, at least 18 people were killed in two separate car bombings in the Iraqi capital. More than 40 people were wounded. Also today, new change in the command of the Iraq mission. General John Abizaid now going ahead with his delayed retirement. He's expected to leave his post as the head of the U.S. Military Central Command in mid-March. Abizaid was supposed to retire last spring, but then Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld asked him to stay on. General George Casey, by the way, the top U.S. military commander in Iraq, he's also scheduled to leave his post early next year. And the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Peter Pace, he's scheduled to rotate out of his position later in the year as well. Lots of military changes right at the top of the command structure. President Bush went to today's news conference under tremendous pressure to change his Iraq policy and perhaps his White House legacy. Our chief national correspondent, John King, he's here with us with more on this part of the story. John?
Well, think back to after the 2004 election. The president closed out the year saying he had a lot of political capital and he planned to spend it. Now, after the 2006 elections, the drubbing of the midterm elections, the president closed out this year with many in Washington wondering if he has any political capital at all for the big decisions to come in 2007.
The United States.
He doesn't like public introspection or legacy questions.
Everybody's trying to write the history of this administration even before it's over. I'm reading about George Washington still. My attitude is if they're still analyzing number one, 43 ought not to worry about it and just do what he thinks is right.
Year-end news conferences are tradition. This one perhaps more important than most because this president is at both a policy and political crossroads.
I'm speaking to the American people, of course, and I want them to know that I know how tough it is.
2/3 of Americans oppose the war, and just 28% in the most recent CNN Opinion Research Corporation poll approve of how the president is handling Iraq.
There's bipartisan angst on the Iraq policy. Everybody's looking for a solution. Everybody knows we can't just walk out.
One goal here was to insist he is learning lessons.
It is important for us to be successful going forward is to analyze that which went wrong. And clearly one aspect of this war that has not gone right is the sectarian violence inside Baghdad.
Translation, it would have helped to have had more troops to keep order in Baghdad when Saddam Hussein's regime fell. Now, a monumental question facing Mr. Bush is whether rushing in more troops will turn things around or whether it's too late.
Iraq is headed in a very dangerous direction. It's already in a state of civil war, and it is headed toward a Bosnia or Lebanon or Congo-like state of all-out civil war.
With Democrats poised to take control of Congress, the president sounds more conciliatory and promises bipartisanship. But he rejects Democratic calls for a timeline to bring troops home. And as he considers sending even more troops into Iraq, Mr. Bush seems mindful of the legacy debate.
The true history of any administration is not going to be written until long after the person is gone. And it's just impossible for short-term history to accurately reflect what has taken place.
Not so impossible, though, to reflect on this year.
2006 was a difficult year for our troops and the Iraqi people.
A difficult year for President Bush as well, Wolf, and one of the surprising things today was that you saw the Democratic statements after the news conference. The president's not ready to say yet what he is going to do in Iraq, and so until then, the Democrats are going to continue to say his policy is a failure and that this president is not getting the message of the election.
You know, we've both covered a lot of presidents in recent years. Whenever they're in trouble and the public seems to be against them, I've noticed whether it was Bill Clinton or this president, George W., they start reading history books of earlier presidents going back all the way to George Washington. It seems like it's a source of comfort to them to know that other great presidents were ridiculed and abused, if you will, at least verbally, during their own times.
It has become a standard line of anyone in this administration, starting with the president, but all the way down through his staff, that if you go back through history and look at wartime leaders, whether it's Winston Churchill in Great Britain or FDR and other presidents here in the United States, that history is never truly reflective on their performance until 20 or 30 years down the road. They are hoping that Mr. Bush will be judged then a lot more favorably than he's being judged right now.
What we do is just the first draft of history, and then the historians can rewrite it many, many times.
Exactly
John.
right.
Thanks very much. Jack Cafferty is standing by in New York with the Cafferty File. Jack?
Well, here's something, Wolf, we can all take some comfort in. The House Ethics Committee has a new leader. Incoming Speaker Nancy Pelosi has named Congresswoman Stephanie Tubbs Jones as chairwoman. The Ohio Democrat says she hopes to restore the public's confidence in both the Ethics Committee and in Congress. Good luck with that. The director of Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, that's a citizen watchdog group, doesn't think a new leader is going to make a whole lot of difference. Melanie Sloan says, quote, they didn't do their job last year, and I don't think they'll do their job next year, unquote. The reason is members of Congress make and enforce their own ethics rules. Wait a minute, let me rephrase that. They make but seldom bother to enforce their own ethics rules. Remember last spring they started investigations of several congressmen, including Bob Ney, William Jefferson? We haven't seen any public reports on any of that. And most recently, the committee came up with that glorious whitewash on Congressman Mark Foley. It's worth noting that more voters in the midterm election just passed said that corruption and ethics in government was extremely important to them, more than any other issue, including the war in Iraq. So here's the question. What's the first thing you would do if you were the head of the House Ethics Committee? Email your thoughts to CaffertyFile@CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Wolf.
I think our viewers are going to have a lot of thoughts on that, Jack. Thanks very much. And to our viewers, if you want a sneak preview of Jack's questions, plus an early read on the day's political news, what's ahead right here in the Situation Room, sign up for our daily email alert. Just go to CNN.com/Situation Room. Coming up, a powerful snowstorm brings Denver to a standstill. Where is this monster storm heading next? Our forecast, that's coming up. Also, authorities call off the search for 2 missing climbers on Oregon's Mount Hood. Is weather behind this decision? And much more in our top story, the president's news conference and the war in Iraq. James Carville and J.C. Watts, they don't necessarily see eye to eye. We'll hear what they have to say in today's strategy session. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
The Situation Room is brought to you by Head On. Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On is available without prescription at your nearest pharmacy.
Head On, applied directly to
Head On, apply directly to the forehead. Head On, apply. Head On, I hate your commercial, but I love your product.
Head On is available without a prescription. New from the makers of Head On. Introducing Activon. Back pain? Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Backache. In stores now. New from the makers of Head On. Introducing Activon. Arthritis pain? Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Arthritis. In stores now.
I'm Montel Williams. The Partnership for Prescription Assistance is traveling to all 50 states, making stops to help people pay for their medicine.
I was in a lot of pain. I wasn't able to afford my medications, and PPA gave me back my life.
This past year, America's pharmaceutical companies gave away more than $5 billion worth of medicines to people in need.
It has been a lifesaver for me in more ways than one.
If you need help, just call 1-888-4PPA now. The Partnership for Prescription Assistance, on the road to helping you.
Isn't freedom a wonderful thing? I'm Lou Gentine of Sargento Cheese. And our Sargento Deli slices make it easy for you to enjoy the authentic flavors of sliced deli cheese without standing in line at the deli. Sargento, our family's passion is cheese.
When religion becomes revolution, a special CNN presents After Jesus, tonight, 7 Eastern.
My favorite NBA League Pass moment.
Anytime LeBron James is playing.
NBA League Pass lets you follow your favorite players and teams, even if they're in one city and you're in another.
I try not to miss any of his games.
Even on the road, I just watch the NBA League Pass broadband, flip over my laptop and, I can watch it right there.
You want to see the stars shine? Get NBA League Pass.
On digital cable.
NBA League Pass on digital cable is just $199. To order, call 888-SPORTS-IN. When it comes to sports, we're on your team.
Good morning. I'm here to see Mr. Johnson.
Hello, I'm here to see Mr. Johnson.
Bad reception? Sign up today for Comcast Digital Cable. Rain or shine, you'll get crystal clear TV reception, unlike satellite. Just call 1-888-COMCAST. Comcast Digital Cable. It's Comcastic.
Trust CNN. It's essential.
In and around Colorado, they're singing "Let It Snow" or maybe "Make It Stop." It's piling up right now, that's for sure. Our meteorologist Reynolds Wolf is standing by at the CNN Weather Center. He's tracking. This is a huge snowstorm in the Denver area, Reynolds.
Oh, it truly is, Wolf. And I know you're used to snow growing up in Buffalo. You know what this can do and what it can mean to a lot of people. But you're right. Look at the sheer size of the storm system. On one side, scattered showers, strong thunderstorms. On the other side, we're talking about heavy snow, especially in the Denver area. And if you're curious as to how much snowfall they can expect, take a look at this computer model behind me. As I put it into motion, you can tell the heavy snowfall expected to go right through Boulder and into downtown Denver, where they could get anywhere from 1 to 2 feet of snowfall, some places approaching up to 3 feet of snow. And that's going to last from now all the way through Friday morning. So it's going to be a tremendous problem for people. And not only are we talking about the snowfall that's on the ground, we're talking about the strong wind that continues to sweep in from the north. At this time, up in Greeley, over to Denver, Jeffco, even at Denver International, we've got strong wind coming in around 30 miles per hour. Some peak gusts out at the airport, Wolf, have been up to 50 miles per hour. Also, in terms of travel, we have 2 planes in the air at the airport at this time. It has been virtually shut down. A couple of airports close by, Buckley Field outside Denver, shut down. Nothing's happening there. Also, parts of I-70 have been completely shut down. Parts of I-25, the north-south corridor, no movement there whatsoever. They're expecting the snow, as I mentioned, to last through through Friday, before tapering off by Friday midday and into the weekend. But till then, they're definitely going to be snowed in Denver. Back to you.
Let's hope it tapers off before Christmas. A lot of people going out to Colorado want to go skiing and see some family and friends. Good luck to all of them. Reynolds, thanks very much. Let's check in with Carol Costello. She's in New York. She's following some other stories making news. Carol?
Hi, Wolf. Hello to all of you. No hope left. The search on Oregon's Mount Hood is no longer a rescue effort. Instead, Hood River County Sheriff Joe Wampler says it is now a recovery effort.
Right now, things are moving in from the west, and it's actually snowing at Timberline and Mount Hood Meadows right now. And so that window just slammed shut on us for however long that lasts.
That window, that break in the weather he's talking about gave him a chance to fly over Mount Hood for himself to follow a potential clue, but no luck. Climbers Brian Hall and Jerry Nico Cook have been missing for 12 days. The body of fellow climber Kelly James was found in a snow cave on Sunday. We'll have a live report from Mount Hood in the next hour of the Situation Room. Iran's interior minister says voters have sent a strong message to President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Partial results from last Friday's balloting suggest the president's allies failed to win control of key local councils and that reformers may be making a comeback. The vote was widely considered the first test for the Iranian leader. Since his own election, his anti-Israel rhetoric and hardline views have driven a deep wedge between those who voted him into power. Some blunt, harsh words for Iran's government from the British Prime Minister Tony Blair today. During a speech in Dubai, Blair said the international community must recognize the challenge the Iranian leadership presents.
Here are elements of the government of Iran openly supporting terrorism in Iraq to stop a fledgling democratic process, trying to turn out a democratically elected government in Lebanon, flaunting the international community's desire for peace in Palestine, at the same time as denying the Holocaust and trying to acquire nuclear weapons capability. And yet a huge part of world opinion is frankly almost indifferent. It would be bizarre if it weren't so deadly serious.
Blair has repeated his message throughout his Middle East tour, which he wrapped up with today's speech. Al-Qaeda's #2 man has issued a new videotaped statement siding with Hamas against early Palestinian elections. Ayman al-Zawahiri is shown saying that holding elections will not lead to Palestine's liberation. Osama bin Laden's deputy also warned the U.S. of retaliation for its military actions in Muslim lands, saying, "As you bomb, you will be bombed." Statement first aired on Al Jazeera and was confirmed by CNN Arabic experts. Look at the headlines right now, Wolf.
He's coming on video all the time, it seems, nowadays. I wonder why they can't find this guy. Carol Costello reporting for us. We're just getting word now that we're standing by for a news conference from over at Mount Hood. There are some important developments that are occurring. They're effectively calling off the search right now, in part because of the bad weather. We may also be hearing from some of the family members of those missing 2 climbers. We're going to bring that to you live as soon as it starts from Hood River Airport. That's coming up. We're standing by for that. Also coming up. It's been more than 6 weeks now since Election Day, but the battle for one congressional seat still not over. We're going to tell you what's going on. Plus, Hillary Clinton teams up with some other influential women. These stories, much more in today's Political Radar. Stay with us. You're in The Situation.
Adjustable rate mortgages are resetting, and your monthly payments could get dangerously high. Refinance your first mortgage today, and we'll guarantee the lowest price or give you $500 in cash. Call now before your mortgage payment climbs any higher. Lending Tree. When banks compete, you win.
I love birthdays. I wait for my birthday all year. I was feeling like I was getting a cold, so I called my friend and I said, can you cancel the plans? And she said, no, try Zicam because that'll kick your cold. I mean, who wants to be sick on their birthday?
Taking Zicam at the first sign is clinically proven to get you over your cold 3 times faster.
And it definitely worked for me. Zicam allowed me to enjoy my birthday, my 24th birthday, which was a great one.
Get Zicam and get over your cold 3 times faster.
So thousands of other mid-sized companies run SAP software. Does that mean I'm not the maverick nonconformist I thought I was?
At Coors, we have a responsibility to help prevent underage drinking. As a parent, I understand that responsibility. 75% of teens say parents are their #1 influence as they decide to drink or not. That's why Coors brings you MVParents.com, a website built by Search Institute, experts on youth development. Here you'll find tools to empower your teens to make the right decisions. So visit MVParents.com and know that we at Coors are as committed as you are to preventing underage drinking.
She hungered for something better. Something Mediterranean. New, I can't believe it's not butter Mediterranean blend, made with olive oil and has 70% less saturated fat than butter and the same great butter taste.
So worth the swim.
You know, that is a rich. New, I can't believe it's not butter Mediterranean blend.
Been a dramatic day out near Mount Hood. The search and rescue operation, the rescue part at least, effectively called off. Authorities announcing today no hope left for those 2 missing climbers. We're standing by for a news conference. That's coming up. We're going to bring it to you live. We may actually also hear from some of the distraught family members of those 2 missing climbers. That's coming up here in the Situation Room. Once that news conference starts over at Mount Hood, we'll bring it to you live. In the meantime, the road to the White House is on our political radar this Wednesday. Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton played to her daytime audience and the all-female cast of The View today, suggesting it might be time for a mom to be president. But she refused to give an early notice that she will indeed run, preferring to talk about Christmas and her family. She did call fellow Senate Democrat and potential 2008 rival Barack Obama, and I'm quoting now, a terrific guy. The mayor of Chicago is taking sides between Senators Obama and Clinton, and he's going with the man from his home state. The Chicago Sun-Times reports Mayor Richard Daley is endorsing Obama not only because he's from Illinois, but because he has taken the world by storm. And this is just the second time Daley has actually broken with his long-standing tradition of remaining neutral in Democratic primaries. A new group called DraftObama.org is running ads featuring an upbeat speech by the senator. The spot now is airing in the main TV station in New Hampshire as well as on local cable in the Granite State and here in Washington. Some mixed news for voters behind the Draft Condoleezza Rice campaign. Our new poll shows the Secretary of State's job approval rating now stands at 57%. That's higher than any other top member of the Bush administration, but Rice's disapproval rating is now up to 35%. weighed down perhaps by an unpopular war in Iraq and an unpopular president. The 2008 race for the White House could cost a whopping, get this, $1 billion. Yes, you heard it, $1 billion. That's the prediction from the chairman of the Federal Election Commission. Michael Toner told the Washington Times that the $500,000 each party's candidate would need to compete will severely limit the field of contenders. And 6 weeks after the midterm election, there's still a fight underway right now over a key House race in Florida. Democratic candidate Christine Jennings plans to ask Congress today for an investigation and possibly a re-vote if her legal challenge in Florida fails. State election officials have declared Republican Vern Buchanan the winner in Florida's 13th congressional district. But Jennings contends some touchscreen machines in one county lost votes, costing her the election. And remember, for the latest political news at any time, check out our political ticker at cnn.com/ticker. Coming up, that news conference, we're standing by from Mount Hood. We're going to go there live once it happens. The rescue operation over with for now. They're calling it a recovery operation, but bad weather clearly hampering everything. We'll go to those microphones you see behind me as soon as that news conference starts. Also, can President Bush reach out and work with the Democrats on such crucial issues as taxes, Social Security, immigration? You'll find out. That's coming up next. And top Democrats react to the president's comments this morning on Iraq. The incoming Senate Armed Services Committee Chairman Carl Levin, he joins us right here in the Situation Room. Stand by. Lots coming up.
Keeping control of a busy emergency room, Janet is a formidable woman. But she was no match for something smaller than the tip of a pen. It KO'd Janet so fast, she didn't know what hit her. It was a clot. Like Janet, if you've been hospitalized with heart-related chest pain or a certain type of heart attack, what doctors call ACS, chances are you've had a clot. But now Janet's doctor is helping increase Janet's protection against heart attack and stroke by putting Janet on Plavix. Plavix, in combination with aspirin and other heart medicines, helps provide greater protection against heart attack and stroke than aspirin and other heart medicines alone by helping keep blood platelets from sticking together and forming clots.
If you have a stomach ulcer or other condition that causes bleeding, you shouldn't use Plavix. When taking Plavix alone or with some medicines, including aspirin, the risk of bleeding may increase. To minimize this risk, talk to your doctor before taking aspirin or other medicines with Plavix. Additional rare but serious side effects could occur.
Ask your doctor about Plavix today, because no matter how formidable you are, you're no match for a dangerous clot.
Who are you shopping for?
My mom.
What did you get her last year?
Last year I got her a flowery picture frame. Before that I got her a silver picture frame and a panda bear picture frame.
Kid, get her a Canon digital camera. Like this PowerShot A540. 6 megapixels, 4 times optical zoom.
Just $199.98.
Thanks, Mr. Humperdinck.
Send that to your mom.
This week, buy any Canon PowerShot digital camera and get a special bonus offer on a Canon photo printer. Another unexpected gift from Staples.
Cholesterol. It can come from fettuccine Alfredo, but also from your grandpa Alfredo, from barbecue ribs, and from your grandma Barbie. A healthy diet is important. When that's not enough, adding Vytorin can help. Cholesterol comes from 2 sources, food and family. Vytorin treats 2 sources. Only Vytorin helps block the absorption of cholesterol from food and reduces the cholesterol your body makes naturally based on family history. Vytorin was also proven in clinical studies to lower bad cholesterol more than Lipitor alone. Vytorin is not for everyone, including people with liver problems, women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant. Unexplained muscle pain or weakness could be a sign of a rare but serious side effect. Vytorin may interact with other medicines or certain foods, increasing your risk of getting this serious side effect. Simple blood tests are needed to check for liver problems. So eat right, stay active. But if that's not enough, ask your doctor about adding Vytorin, 2 sources of cholesterol. Treat them both with Vytorin.
When faith rocks civilization to its core and religion becomes revolution. A special CNN presents, narrated by Liam Neeson. After Jesus, tonight, 7 Eastern.
And to our viewers, you're in the Situation Room where new pictures and information are arriving all the time. Happening now. President Bush reviews a deadly year in Iraq and his options for the future. In a news conference, Mr. Bush acknowledged he's considering a short-term surge in troop levels in Iraq if they have a specific mission. But he says he hasn't made a final decision on that yet. The president has a new set of eyes on the ground in Iraq right now. The Defense Secretary Robert Gates is there just 3 days after starting his job. He went straight into meetings with the top U.S. military commanders in Baghdad. And authorities in Oregon have abandoned their search for those 2 missing climbers and amid any hope of finding them alive. That announcement as snow began to fall once again on Mount Hood. We're standing by for a news conference from Mount Hood. Authorities expected to speak on the latest, the search continuing. It's a recovery operation now officially described by the local sheriff. We may be hearing from family members of those 3 climbers as well. Once that news conference starts, we'll bring it to you live right here in the Situation Room. Also moving east, blizzard warnings right now posted for most of eastern Colorado and sections of Kansas and Nebraska. We're following the severe weather that's going on as well. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. President Bush offered an olive branch to Democrats today as they prepare to take control of the U.S. Congress. During his news conference, Mr. Bush said he supports a minimum wage hike and he's open to compromise over Social Security and immigration reform.
This weekend, my message is we can work together, and here are some key areas where we've got to work together. Reauthorization of No Child Left Behind, minimum wage. I hope we're able to work together on free trade agreements.
Let's bring in our senior analyst, Jeff Greenfield. He's watching all of this unfold as he always is. Jeff?
Well, Wolf, the president was at pains today to signal the message he heard from the midterms, not just on Iraq, but on how Washington ought to work. But does that mean that the lion shall lay down with the lamb, or to be more precise, that Republicans and Democrats will really start working together?
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
If he said it once, he said it again and again. The new watchword is, well, take a listen.
As we work with Congress in the coming year to chart a new course in Iraq and strengthen our military, we must also work together to achieve important goals for the American people here at home. To achieve these and other key goals, we need to put aside our partisan differences.
It's hardly a new theme in Washington. In fact, Bush's father struck the same note at his inaugural in 1989.
A new breeze is blowing, and the old bipartisanship must be made new again. I'm putting out my hand to you, Mr. Speaker. The American people await action. They didn't send us here to bicker.
Of course, the first George Bush didn't have much choice. Congress was solidly in Democratic hands for his entire 4 years. By contrast, Ronald Reagan had a Republican Senate for 6 years and enough conservative Democrats in the House to let him form an ideological majority. This George Bush had Republican majorities, narrow though they were, for most of his first 6 years. So on key bills like the prescription drug plan, he prevailed because of strong party discipline. And particularly in the House of Representatives, bipartisan cooperation was rarely a factor. Now, there may be a lesson here from the Clinton years. Democrats held both houses in 1993 when Clinton's key budget and tax plans passed without a single Republican vote in either chamber.
A vote for NAFTA represents the best traditions of our past.
By contrast, the North American Free Trade Agreement was passed with many Republican votes and with many Democrats in strong opposition. And when Republicans took the Congress over after 1994, things changed. Indeed, some of what happened in those years of divided government, welfare reform, for example, may well have happened because Republicans were in control. Their power let Clinton push more centrist ideas that the liberal Democrats in the House might have tried to block. And when Clinton needed those Democrats to save him during impeachment, much of the push toward more centrist ideas, say on Social Security reform, faded.
Bringing this process to a conclusion.
So what does this suggest for the future? Well, the one obvious area, Wolf, you've mentioned it, where Bush and Democrats might find common ground is in immigration reform. It was the House Republicans last year that demanded the enforcement-only approach. But if this becomes the first case of bipartisanship, it could trigger a furious fight within the president's own party. Wolf?
Don't you think, though, Jeff, that as important as immigration reform is and a lot of these other issues, what the American public wants to see is some progress on Iraq, and Iraq is going to dominate, presumably, the final 2 years of this president?
Absolutely, and I think back to another example. After Richard Nixon became president in 1969, the Vietnam War, which had divided the Democratic Party, still does to this day in a way, became a much more partisan issue, and Democrats as a whole moved in sharp opposition to Vietnam, and it created a much more partisan atmosphere. Whether or not what's going on now in Iraq will produce some kind of answer that can unite Democrats and Republicans is quite clearly the toughest test of the president's next 2 years.
All right, we'll be watching every step of the way, Jeff, together with you. Thank you very much for that. Another Republican has decided to test the presidential waters. Former Virginia Governor Jim Gilmore says he's forming an exploratory committee because he says the race lacks what he calls a true conservative. Our senior political analyst, Bill Schneider, is watching all of this, who's in, who's out. Lots going on. I guess I can't even count how many explorers are actually out there, Bill.
Well, you know, former Virginia Governor Mark Warner is not running. Former or current Virginia Senator George Allen was defeated, and now a third Virginia candidate has come forward to say, yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. About a dozen Republicans are exploring a presidential bid. They all call themselves conservatives. Now, former Virginia Governor Jim Gilmore says he's exploring a presidential bid to fill what he calls a void in the Republican race.
I think there is a void. I think there's a need for a committed conservative who's able to put together a national campaign.
A committed conservative? That's an implied criticism of well-known potential candidates whose conservative credentials are open to challenge, like Rudy Giuliani and John McCain and Mitt Romney.
I didn't pretend to be one thing one day and then another thing another day. I actually governed as a conservative.
Gilmore can put together a national campaign. That's an implied criticism of potential conservative candidates who are relatively unknown, like Sam Brownback and Duncan Hunter and Mike Huckabee.
I've been an Army veteran, chairman of the RNC, chairman of the Republican Governors Association, head of the Terrorism Commission, head of the Internet Tax Commission. I've been around the block.
But is this the direction Republicans want to go? Conventional wisdom says Republicans lost this year because they moved too far to the right. Gilmore believes Republicans lost because the party betrayed conservative principles. On what?
I think on spending. I think that we have not become affirmative, strong advocates for the control of spending.
The party's base was demoralized in 2006. Rally the base, conservatives say, and Republicans will win, just as they did in 2000 and 2002 and 2004. It's a strategy that goes back to the founding father of the modern Republican Party.
I think that the people of the United States are really looking for more Ronald Reagan conservative type of leadership.
Rallying the base worked for Republicans when voters in the middle were split. But this year, independents tilted decisively to the Democrats. Republicans in 2008 are going to face a very big choice: rally the base or try to reclaim the center. Wolf?
Thanks very much, Bill Schneider, for that. And Bill, check this out. If the early presidential field is starting to look a little crowded to all of you, you are absolutely right. There are now 24 potential Republican, Democratic, and Independent candidates. Yes, 24, 24, who either are already in the race for 2008 or seriously thinking about running. And we're watching all of this together with you all along the way. Fasten your seatbelts. Bill Schneider, Jeff Greenfield, you saw earlier, John King, Suzanne Malveaux, they are all part of the best political team on television. Also part of that team, James Carville and J.C. Watts. They're standing by to join us live right here in the Situation Room. On our agenda today, the president, the war in Iraq, and the next race for the White House. That's coming up. And we'll have much more on the search now being called off for those missing 2 climbers. We're standing by for a news conference at Mount Hood. We'll go there live to these microphones. You see this live picture coming in as soon as the authorities come out and speak, and there may be family members speaking as well. We'll be right back.
Let me tell you about a very important phone call I made. When I got my Medicare card, I realized I needed an AARP Medicare Supplement insurance card too.
One simple call gave me the chance to talk with a personal health insurance advisor
Who answered all my questions about Medicare Supplement plans, so I could understand it all. After I called, I was able to choose the plan that was right for me.
If you're already on or eligible for Medicare, call now to find out how an AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan, insured by United Healthcare Insurance Company, helps you pay some of the 20% of your medical expenses not covered by Medicare Part B. That can save you from paying thousands of dollars out of your own pocket. These are the only Medicare Supplement Insurance Plans exclusively endorsed by AARP, a name you trust. When you call now, we'll send you this free information kit with all you need to enroll, so you can join the millions of people who've already trusted us for their Medicare supplement insurance. Plus, we'll send you this free guide to understanding Medicare.
The prices are competitive.
I can keep my own doctor and choose my own hospital.
And I don't need a referral to see a specialist.
Call now to get the free information kit. Plus, we'll include this free Medicare guide. And the advantages don't end there. You can choose from a wide range of plans that are all competitively priced, so you can find a plan that best fits your needs and budget. There are virtually no claim forms to fill out. And best of all, they're the only Medicare supplement plans endorsed by AARP.
When they told me these plans were endorsed by AARP,
I had only one thing to say.
Sign me up.
Call now, 1-800-495-9137, and let us help you choose the right plan. So call now, 1-800-495-9137, and find out about an AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan. A personal health insurance advisor is waiting for your call.
I'm Montel Williams. The Partnership for Prescription Assistance is traveling to all 50 states, making stops to help people pay for their medicine.
I was in a lot of pain. I wasn't able to afford my medications, and PPA gave me back my life.
This past year, America's pharmaceutical companies gave away more than $5 billion worth of medicines to people in need.
It has been a lifesaver for me in more ways than one.
If you need help, just call 1-888-4PPA now. The Partnership for Prescription Assistance, on the road to helping you.
I just want to remind you, we're standing by for that news conference from Mount Hood. They've called off the rescue operation. They've acknowledged authorities there. There is no hope left to find those two missing climbers. The sheriff's going to be speaking to reporters with other authorities shortly. We may hear from some family members as well. We'll go there live as soon as their remarks start. In the meantime, it's the question most asked and question most dogged by the president. Will he be sending more U.S. troops to Iraq? It happened once again today at the president's traditional end-of-the-year White House news conference. Joining us now for our strategy session, Democratic strategist James Carville and Republican strategist J.C. Watts. Guys, thanks very much for coming in. I want to play this little clip from what the president said over at the White House earlier.
I reach out to a lot of the families. I spend time with them. I am always inspired by their spirit. Most people have asked me to do one thing, and that is to make sure that their child didn't die in vain, and I agree with that.
You know, a lot of people out there are coming around to the conclusion, James, that a lot of those soldiers and Marines may have died in vain.
Well, I don't think that they have. I think that, you know, as the president says, you know, history will judge us, and it's very difficult. I'll take him at his word. I think American people are very skeptical, as are Joint Chiefs of Staff, about sending more troops in there. I really do. And, you know, if it is a mistake, as John Kerry said about Vietnam, how do you tell the last person to die for a mistake? And I think people are looking for some realistic way out of this, and I don't know if the president is yet.
JC?
The last 24 hours, Wolf, I don't think the American people have become less skeptical either, and let me tell you why. 6 weeks ago, it was stay the course before the election. Yesterday, today, it's, you know, we're not winning, more troops. The president's got a tough sell. He's got a tough responsibility, a tall order here, because more troops, less troops, pull them out, don't pull them out. You've got the Iraq Study Group saying, talk to Iran, Syria, Iran's involved with Hezbollah, Hamas, you know, Palestinian territories. The American people are confused.
It's complicated, but the president is raising expectations. We're all bracing for this big speech he's supposed to deliver early in January with a new, in his words, way forward, a new strategy. Those expectations are sky high right now.
I cannot believe, generally this White House is pretty good about doing things. I can't believe that they let themselves out there saying that they're doing this reevaluation of policy and, having a Joint Chiefs leak and the neocons here and the Iraqis there and the Syrians there. And they're just leaving themselves out. And meanwhile, we, i.e. the press, we're sitting here speculating on what's going to happen. And they're just letting this thing build and build and build. And I think if it comes out and they say we're going to send another 30,000 troops, the public is going to be pretty let down. I mean, if you just look at the evolution of this is, in May of 03, we had won. In October of 06, we're winning. And now, we've gone from the past tense to the present tense. And now today he says, well, we're going to win, to the future tense.
Well, but I think, Wolf, I said on Monday that I think the new Secretary of Defense going to Iraq, being sworn in, going to Iraq, getting an honest and I think somewhat of a sobering assessment of what's actually going on, talking to the generals. I think this gives the president an opportunity to do an about face or to pivot in some way if he needs to. But I tell you, it's a lot going on out there. There's a lot in the airwaves out there, but he's going to have to take an honest assessment and do what needs to be done. We must win this thing.
Here's how Nancy Pelosi, the incoming speaker, reacted today. The president gave no indication in his press conference today that he is willing to make the changes needed to reverse the disastrous situation in Iraq unless there is a fundamental change in policy and in the mission of our troops. In support of that policy, events in Iraq are unlikely to improve. The Democrats have a tough challenge ahead of them right now as they become the majority party in both the chambers.
Well, I do, but I thought to speak about that was a pretty sober statement, but it was not personal. It wasn't, and so far there's very little indication that the president is really willing to change course. It looks like...
That's what I mean. If the president doesn't do what the Democrats want, what are the Democratic options? We heard Dennis Kucinich say, cut the funding effectively, but a lot of Democrats are saying they don't want to punish the troops.
Right. I think what you're going to see is a lot of amendments to the spending bill. And, some self-imposed timetables, some things that come back. How is the money being spent? I suspect that they're not going to, quote, defund the war, but I think the days of just these committees going through and appropriating the money without some strings attached, without some things that triggers and benchmarks is over. And I think that the administration, we're going to have a lot of benchmarks attached to this spending. I seriously doubt if they're going to defund this war.
Well, I think this is the challenge of the president. There needs to be an adjustment. I think that's pretty clear. But do you adjust your policy to win, to get yourself on course to win, or do you adjust the policy to pull out and cut and run? And I think that's the discussion. And I think there's enough Republicans, Democrats out there, the new Secretary of Defense, that will take a sobering look at what's going on in Iraq, along with the people on the ground, make that assessment, and I think that's the direction that the president will take.
What do you think the former governor of Virginia, Jim Gilmore, is saying? There's not really a true conservative out there is running, so he's exploring the idea of running.
You're gonna see a lot of folks that will probably take a look at this race that will say, I'm more pure than the next person, and this person isn't as pure as I am. I think Duncan Hunter fits the mold of a conservative, Sam Brownback. I think John McCain does. John McCain just doesn't go to those issues that many conservatives like to talk about in terms of marriage and life. John McCain has a good record on those issues, but they're not his go-to issues. So it's going to be interesting.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, I know Governor Gilmore. He's my neighbor in O-Town. He obviously...
You live in Virginia.
I live in Virginia, right, and he lives in the same little community in Virginia I live in. I think he's obviously got a really tough way to go. You're right, his resume is impressive, but I don't know how well known he is. There is a lot of conservative dissatisfaction with the big three, with Giuliani, McCain, and to some extent with Romney. I think if the biggest event is if the president calls for 30,000 more troops, that really puts the pressure on McCain because that's its idea, and it becomes his war by and large. I think what presidential strategists are looking at right now is what is going to be the effect of an increase in troop size or a surge on the McCain campaign, and that's topic 8.
Hold your fire, because we're out of time. Then we got to leave it right there, guys. Thanks very much, James and JC.
Thank you.
Good discussion. Remember, we're standing by for that news conference from Mount Hood. Authorities have called off the rescue operation. We'll go there live once it starts. We'll be right back.
What do you believe and where do you fit? What is a Christian? A special 360 tonight, 11 p.m. Eastern.
Remember when wishes came true? They still can. Introducing the BMW Holiday Wish Event. The best time of year to buy the new 328i sedan. Lease a BMW 328i for $329 a month and we'll make a contribution to the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Are you in the market for a truck, van, or car? There's one dealership that's never too far. In the heart of McMinnville, it's called Larson Motors. Great service, unanimous amongst all the voters. Like saving money? Can you hear the ovation? Larson Motors is having their year-end liquidation. You'll save like a maniac. GMC, Pontiac, Buick, and Cadillac. Low interest rates, huge factory rebates. So if you want value selection plus red tag price, then it's Larson you should see. They'll treat you nice. So head to McMinnville, come get immersed. But hurry, please hurry. It all ends the 31st.
Cars are fun. Shopping for them should be too. vhix.com. Just click autos on comcast.net.
Their first fight was personal.
Ignacio Tito just another chance to shut him up.
For Tito Ortiz, it's all about payback.
I could care less about the belt. I just want to beat Chuck Liddell's ass. I'm gonna hurt him. Plain and simple. He's gonna get hurt.
Mickey's and Science present UFC 66, Liddell versus Ortiz 2, live Saturday, December 30th from the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas on Events in Demand pay-per-view.
CNN presents After Jesus, tonight, 7 Eastern.
Hurry to Joseph A. Bank. Wool, silk, corduroy sport coats, $99. Cashmere sweaters, $99. Even $500 goat suede jackets, $99. Plus last-minute bonuses. Sweaters and traveler dress shirts and sport shirts, 2 for $99. Even all luggage, an incredible $99. Only at Joseph A. Bank. Now through Friday.
Check in with Jack Cafferty. He's got the Cafferty file. Jack?
The incoming House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, has named Congresswoman Stephanie Tubbs Jones as the new chairwoman of the Ethics Committee. The Ohio Democrat says she hopes to restore the public's confidence in both the Ethics Committee and in Congress. The question is, what's the first thing you would do as the head of the House Ethics Committee? Ed wrote, simple, cut out the root of corruption by eliminating the lobbyist. Take away the temptation to be lured by big business and big money, and put other incentives in place to make the Congress act on behalf of middle-class Americans. Yeah, that'll happen. Bob in Florida writes, I would propose that ethics offenders not be eligible for presidential pardons. That way, perhaps bought and paid for corporate lackeys wouldn't populate most of our congressional seats. Mel in Florida, what happened to the investigation of Senator Frist on his insider trading charges? Looks to me like he's above the law, but hey, they got Martha Stewart. Jane in Wisconsin, the first thing the Ethics Committee needs to do is look into the many corrupt Democrats that have had no scrutiny given to them by the media. All we've heard about in the mainstream press is how bad the Republicans have been. Peggy writes, the first thing I would do is form a group of counsel that's not a part of Congress, and they would deal with the investigations and prosecution of infractions, large and small, in all branches of government. This should have been done a long time ago. No agency or office should be investigating itself. And Michael in Massachusetts, Jack, the first thing they should do is ask for a shaman, a witch doctor, and a priest, and have an exorcism. Place is a mess. Wolf.
Thanks, Jack, for that. I want to go out to Mount Hood. The Deputy Sheriff, Chris Girton, speaking now, announcing the rescue operation for those 2 missing climbers is now over.
We did an excellent job
with the resources we had and the information we had, looking and trying to locate the climbers. And again, we're still going to continue with this as the weather and personnel allows us to continue this. Thank you.
Have you spoken to the families?
I've been in contact with the families, yes.
What is the reaction to your decision?
I haven't spoken to the family as of suspending the search, so I do not know what their reaction is.
When you say you'll continue if the weather gets better, how are you approaching that? Will you still be in recovery mode?
Well, we still have 2 climbers that are unaccounted for right now, and as the weather and resources are available to us, we are going to continue to try to locate those 2 climbers.
Are there places that you haven't looked, that if the weather changes you can look, or are you looking for some evidence on the mountain somehow that would lead you to look at a place that would take you back?
Well, we're always going to be looking for evidence to help point our search teams into the right direction. I'm comfortable with saying that we have covered the high probability areas based on the information that we've had from day one of this search. I do feel comfortable that we had covered all those areas. We've had weather issues that hampered our search in the beginning, and so there are areas that we'll be looking at again.
Sheriff, I know that you flew up there this morning. Can you describe the weather conditions?
Yeah, we were able to get up, make one more flight based on some information received last night, and we contacted Mountain Meadows and Timberline and what's it doing up there, and basically we were between layers and the visibility was good, but we spent about an hour in the White River, from the White River Glacier down this morning, because someone may have seen a yellow color in the snow, and but we were able to confirm by flying this morning that it was rocks, bottom line.
What about the rescue climbers that were at Cloud Cap? What are them now?
Where are they at now? Yes, everyone is down off of Cloud Cap right now.
Can you say now that this is a recovery operation as opposed to a rescue?
Well, we're still going to be looking for Mr. Cook and Mr. Hall.
So does that mean you will have, if the weather clears, you'll put planes up and you'll keep flying around looking, or you'll put people on the mountain going up and down?
Well, again, we're going to be looking for any little clues that we can find to help point us in the right direction.
I guess, will those clues just come from, people who are on the mountain, or will you purposely be sending out people at every opportunity to look?
We do have some teams on standby for that reason, that we, if the weather and the conditions allow, to have teams go back out and recheck some areas, check some new areas, to see if anything else can develop out of this.
What would be the earliest time of the year that you could physically go into this avalanche-prone area safely on foot? How many months do you have to wait for that, sir?
Well, we don't have a whole lot more time left as far as before we really start getting into the heavy winter season. I don't have a date time for you, but...
No, but I mean, when does it start melting out and, and receding to the point that you can walk in?
Spring.
Sheriff, can you talk about your frustration that this didn't conclude how you hoped and worked for it?
Oh yeah, I'm on behalf of Chris and his crew that works so hard on this thing, working with the families. That was tough. People came from all over to
be with us. We hope to give them a good result. At least find everybody. I mean, that incidents on the mountain are very unforgiving, and we know that. We told them that from the beginning. A week of some of the worst weather we've had all year, but this is wintertime. Part of Chris's team that is helping me make this decision. And I support their decision 100% based on what they tell me, and that is this time of year. Mount Hood is a dangerous place to be based on weather conditions. And I'll help Chris and his crew no, we're still in a lot of weather windows. We can be up there. We'll have a lot of nice days here and there. But right now, we're going to let everybody go home for Christmas. It's like I say, we know that a door is going to slam shut on us here for a couple days, and that's the end of our the end of our longest hopeful survival periods based on the conditions on Mount Hood. And I think we've Chris has given every opportunity for them to come out. Chris and I are going to be the first ones, if they come walking out of there after we say what we're saying here today, we're taking them out. But I wouldn't ever want that to ever happen. But, we think this is a valid decision, based on the people that are necessary to go up there and do these things. And we flew our last flight out of here this morning. The only thing that brought us back, we'd still be up there now, is the weather. It was snowed on us all the way back, and as you can see, there's not too many holes to get back into here today. So, but that's what it's like on the mountain. So basically, on behalf of all of us and the family, We've talked to them. I've got Chief Deputy Brown down there with them right now. Telling them what we're doing, and for the most part, they understand. They know. These folks are all outdoorsmen. They know, but some are not ready to say no yet. And I'm with them, but this is something we have to do on all our sake and on the safety of the people that are doing this on our behalf. And so reluctantly, that's where we're at.
How tough is that decision for you emotionally, and how are all your teams doing?
Well, it's a hard decision because, like I said, I've been with these guys from day one of this, and the frustration that I can see with the climbers, it was hard because they wanted to come up with some results, and they gave it everything they had, and they tried and tried and tried, and the weather just made this extremely difficult. And I was sensing that the morale was extremely high with our rescue teams. The family was wonderful. The family was sending dinners for our rescuers. I mean, they were, I can't speak for all of them, but I know most of them were just, frustrated just like all of us.
How are your teams holding up now?
Well, I think they're doing well. I think they know that they gave it 100%. There's no question about that. We had a team up on the summit, and that was an extraordinary feat alone with the helicopter rescue that was done. So I think that they know that they did everything that they could.
Is it quite a bond that develops between the rescuers and the family over these days?
Well, I'm sure yes. I've seen the family shake hands with the rescuers and talk to the rescuers. So, I mean, I'd have to say yes on that. No questions.
And a little bit more to that. The summit team that threw a lot of risk. A lot of these guys are volunteers that, were being moved by military helicopters. And, we watched that all on TV. That operation was not without risk. And so those folks who did that, they wanted to go see the family, and for the most part, they did. And we had to be pretty careful about not making the guys in the field too close to this family, because that was kind of going on here, and so that was part of our management.
Worrying that they get too close to the family.
That's right. That's right, exactly. Risks that are too great, and that's the problem. We had people willing to do that, people that did, and I thought we did a pretty good job, managing those things. But a lot of risks were taken during this event, and our job here was to make sure that they were at least an acceptable risk, based on every attempt possible to save lives. And it's an honor for us to work with folks like that. We appreciate, one more thing I just want to say is we're kind of new to this. We've had big events, but this is a big deal for us. The media has treated us very respectfully, and we appreciate that, and because that really helped us get our job done. I mean, we got a lot of things done this week because of that. The family, again, with what they were to us, they kept the momentum going. Every time they saw us have a little hitch, which we did, we had several. They did all they could to help us. So on behalf of the volunteers, the private people that came to our aid, industry, this, we had calls for that people want to give us assistance from Canada, throughout the United States. Like I said the other day, our offices, the pizzas from the family were just awesome. But the socks that we received from the local businesses were something we all needed. And, they went up to the guys up there, and, these guys have been living out of their pack for a week. And anyway, we're going to get out of here today, but I'd just like to let you know that Chris and I, on this particular mission, are the last two off the mountain. And boy, like I say, when the weather gets better, we'll get back up there and try to find those guys. We owe that to the family, and we will get that done. So. I don't have any information. That was scheduled to be done in Portland, and so we don't.
To be clear, did you confer with the family before making the decision to call off the search, or you informed them after you made the decision to call off the search?
I can probably speak a little, because I spent more time. Chris was the guy up the mountain. He's the guy running this thing. I spent a lot of time, every day. We allowed them to be with us, and especially this last few days. They kind of saw some guys go home, and that made them nervous. But we convinced them we were still out there, and we were. And then spending some time with our leaders, deciding what we were going to do here. I was kind of we took them for a ride yesterday to really get up close and look. And we wouldn't be doing this today if they hadn't been part of that decision. But like I say, they weren't all ready to do this. That's where we have to be the responsible ones, and on behalf of everybody else, and so that's what we're doing.
What about this may be a little premature, I know you'll be studying a lot, but lessons from this for climbers, for rescuers?
A lot of good things happened this week. I mean, we learned a lot of things about the search and rescue. But first of all, I'd just like to say that the search and rescues on Mount Hood, are something that's been going on for a long time, and there's literally a playbook. We got the call last week. We opened the book and started making the calls right out of the book. Between Clackamas County Clackamas County Sheriff's Office they have got some wonderful folks. But between them and us, we opened that book and page by page went down through there, and all that happened this week. And you saw that happen, and makes us feel good that all that practice and planning works.
Is there any new information as rescuers are getting home and sort of evaluating what they saw near the summit about where Brian Hall and Jerry Cook may have gone? How they could have sent them?
Yeah, we're guessing on that every day. Let me mess you up here. Second part of this question over here. Lessons learned. Real quickly, we got two climbers that supposedly did everything right, and there's a real possibility as of today, not all of them are going to make it off the mountain alive. We are thinking that they all may be dead, but they did everything right. Something happened up there, because they're not here to tell us. But if you're going to go to Mount Hood or any other mountain, it has to be well planned, and the time of year has a lot to do with that. But never ever, and we tell people in the gorge this all the time, never ever go anywhere and just plan on going someplace and not be prepared to spend some time out there, because you might get caught and you might have to stay there. I mean, that's everything from driving in your car in the wintertime. If it's just going to be a little day thing, that's just that, and that's okay. But Oregon, the Northwest, is anytime you get off that highway out here, you're in the wilderness, and if that's going to be your plan, then you prepare for that. A minimum climb this time of year is 3 days, not just 1 day. 3 days. You plan on having to stay out there in case something happens. It's real important from the sheriff's office's standpoints that that in the wintertime that we cannot get there from here. If you call me today, I won't be there. You'll be lucky if we can make those arrangements to be there tomorrow. So you need to know those risks when you get out there.
A sad day indeed. Sheriff Joe Wampler speaking to reporters, emotionally choking back tears. He broke down earlier when he told all of us that the rescue operation for those two missing climbers has now ended. Brian Hall, 37 years old, Jerry Cook, 36 years old. In part, the weather simply getting really bad right now in the Mount Hood area, and no hope left. They consulted with family members. They took the family members on a flight around the mountain yesterday, and today, with the weather clearly taking a major turn for the worse, the search now over for those two missing climbers. The other climber, the third climber, Kelly James, 48 years old. His body was found earlier in the week. And that bad weather not only affecting Oregon, it's also affecting Colorado right now. Word just coming in. The Denver International Airport has now been forced to shut down. Let's turn to our meteorologist, Dave Hennon. This weather condition out there in the Colorado area is getting awful right now. The pictures are very dramatic.
Yeah, they really speak for themselves. So if we have seen winds this afternoon gusting as high as 56 miles per hour. That's tropical storm strength, as this big low pressure area moving out of the Colorado Rockies, moving into the plains. These are current winds. Check this out, 30 to 40 mile per hour sustained winds at Denver International, and then you put that on top of what is about a foot of snow that has fallen, from what we can tell, in the Denver metropolitan area, has closed the airport. We're going to switch you over to our Flight Explorer source, and this is showing all the planes heading to Denver. Not one flight in the air. There are over 6,000 other flights in the air at this hour, but not one flight on Flight Explorer is showing up heading towards the Denver International Airport. It's not going to get better either, Wolf. There is no word yet on when Denver will reopen, so this is going to affect a lot of people, we think, at least through the night, probably into tomorrow morning.
Snow accumulation and poor runway conditions, that's what the authorities are citing, Dave, for the closure of the Denver International Airport. We'll stay on top of this with you, Dave. Thank you very much. I want to check in with Jack Cafferty. He's got the Cafferty file. Jack?
President Bush, Wolf, thinks it's time to, quote, reset our military. And he's asked the new Secretary of Defense, Robert Gates, to come up with a plan to increase the size of both the Army and the Marine Corps. Mr. Bush tied his decision to the broader war on terror instead of just to the war in Iraq. And this comes after the Army's Chief of Staff told Congress last week that the active duty Army, quote, will break, unquote, under the strain of the current rotations for the ongoing wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And Colin Powell, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, says the Army is already about broken. The president didn't give any specifics, but some officials say the administration wants to increase the military by as many as 70,000 troops. Now, if it's not possible to meet the goals only using the volunteers, then down the road, I assume, it could raise the question of having to resort to a draft. Here's our question this hour. Should the U.S. Armed Forces expand? Email your thoughts to CaffertyFile@CNN.com. Go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Wolf.
Jack, thank you for that. We'll get back with you shortly. Still ahead, right here in the Situation Room, the president speaking out on Iraq. He takes stock of what he calls a difficult year in Iraq and says he's open to ideas on how to move forward. Our Suzanne Malveaux standing by at the White House. Jamie McIntyre, the only television correspondent traveling with the new defense secretary in Iraq right now, will bring both of them into the Situation Room. Also, controversial comments by a Republican congressman about immigration and a soon-to-be colleague, a Muslim who wants to take the oath on the Quran. Find out why the representative said that, or what the representative said, and some are calling his words the sign, and I'm quoting now, of an Islamophobe. Plus, Wall Street executives reaping record bonuses this year. We're going to show you who's getting what and why. You'll want to see this. Stay with us. You're in the Situation.
If you want to quit smoking, today's your day. Introducing new Commit Cherry Lozenges. Quitting smoking just got a little tastier.
It's a tough job being a firefighter, and if you have a cold, it can be 10 times as tough. It's easier to put a little bit of water on a small fire than it is to put a lot of water on a big fire. And it's the way Zicam works. If you can feel a cold coming on, the sooner you get to it, the sooner you can control it.
Taking Zicam at the first sign is clinically proven to get you over your cold 3 times faster.
I deal with life and death every day. If I have a cold, I'm just not at my best.
Get Zicam and get over your cold 3 times faster.
I like to take Zicam, and it gets me back to where I should be.
This holiday, give him something he'll really love. The Philips Norelco Smart Touch XL. Simplicity is giving him a gift he'll use every day.
Some of the world's finest diamonds are mined in Namibia. Every year, the diamond industry makes a substantial investment in education, health, and environmental conservation. Namibia is working with other governments and the United Nations to control the movement of rough diamonds across national borders, in an effort to prevent illicit trade in diamonds. Thank you for buying diamonds. Diamonds are working for Namibia.
When belief is worth dying for and religion becomes revolution, a special CNN presents After Jesus, tonight, 7 Eastern.
You can donate a car, you can donate a bike, you can donate an ottoman if you really like. You can donate a picture, you can donate a chair, you can donate the clothes that you hardly ever wear. Salvation Army. You can buy the brand names that you really do like. Buy a car, buy an ottoman, you can buy a bike, you can buy a pretty picture, you can hang it on the wall. Buy stuff that you never would find at the malls. Salvation Army. And the money from the sales of the stuff that you buy could help somebody get a whole new life. Salvation Army will do what's best. You donate, we'll do the rest. Salvation Army.
Call 1-800-SA-TRUCK.
Good morning. I'm here to see Mr. Johnson.
Hello, I'm here to see Mr. Johnson.
Bad reception? Sign up today for Comcast Digital Cable. Rain or shine, you'll get crystal clear TV reception, unlike satellite. Just call 1-888-COMCAST. Comcast Digital Cable. It's Comcastic.
John Ramsey's only interview on 10 years since Sean Benet's murder. Larry King tonight.
Welcome back. Is President Bush any closer to sending more U.S. troops to Iraq? In a review today of his Iraq policy, which veered badly off course this past year, Mr. Bush made it clear he still hasn't decided how to change course in the year ahead. He said he's weighing the options, adding the Democrats are welcome to weigh in as well. The new Defense Secretary, Robert Gates, is now on the ground in Iraq, getting a first-hand assessment. He's meeting with top U.S. military commanders as well as with top Iraqi officials. CNN's Jamie McIntyre is the only TV correspondent traveling with the Defense Secretary. We're going to also hear from our own Brian Todd on a possible setback for one of America's foes in Iraq. But let's go to the White House. Our correspondent Suzanne Malveaux with more on the president's news conference. Suzanne?
Well, Wolf, President Bush, facing possible lame duck status, pledged today that he was going to work very hard to get things done the next 2 years with a sprint to the finish. But the big question tonight, of course, is can he turn things around in Iraq, and how quickly?
The President of the United States.
It was the president's attempt at pushing the reset button.
I'm going to make you this promise. My administration will work with Republicans and Democrats to fashion a new way forward that can succeed in Iraq.
Mr. Bush presented an ambitious New Year's resolution, but his news conference wrapping up the year didn't have a pretty bow. Faced with soaring violence in Iraq, plummeting support for the war at home, and Congress now in the hands of Democrats, this is not the same man who, when re-elected, boasted about having political capital to spend.
But the most painful aspect of the presidency is the fact that I know my decisions have caused young men and women to lose their lives.
Mr. Bush also made clear he still believes in his decision to invade Iraq.
No, I haven't questioned whether or not it was right to take Saddam Hussein out, nor have I questioned the necessity for the American people. I mean, I've questioned it. I've come to the conclusion it was the right decision.
But the president is no longer claiming the U.S. is absolutely winning the Iraq war, as he did during the campaign just 6 weeks ago.
Victory in Iraq is achievable. It hadn't happened nearly as quickly as I hoped it would have.
As his new Defense Secretary Bob Gates embarks on his Fresh Eyes tour in Iraq, Mr. Bush says all options are on the table, including sending more U.S. troops, an unpopular prospect among the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Laying the groundwork, the president has already called to expand the armed forces overall, a move that appears to reject the vision of his departed Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld, who advocated for a leaner fighting force. For a president who does not like to look back, his year-ender press conference inspired some nostalgia.
We began the year with optimism after watching nearly 12 million Iraqis go to the polls to vote for a unity government.
With Iraq now torn by sectarian violence, Mr. Bush resolved to turn things around. But like many of us who make New Year's resolutions, he gave himself an out.
I'm not going to make predictions about what 2007 will look like in Iraq.
But the president did indicate that the United States is going to be in a long struggle against who he calls extremists and radicals. And Wolf, he also said the military has to be prepared to be in the fight for what he called a long period of time. Wolf?
Suzanne, thank you for that. Suzanne's at the White House. The Defense Secretary, Robert Gates, certainly hitting the ground running. He's in Iraq right now on a surprise visit aimed at learning all he can about the U.S. mission there. Our senior Pentagon correspondent, Jamie McIntyre, is the only TV correspondent traveling with the new defense secretary.
Just 3 days into the job, Robert Gates emerged from a C-17 cargo plane after an overnight flight from Washington and went straight into meetings with his top commanders in Baghdad. The big topic on the agenda, President Bush's interest in surging tens of thousands of additional U.S. troops to try to bring the escalating violence under control in the Iraqi capital.
We've discussed the possibility of a surge and the potential for what it might accomplish. I think it's very important in this case to hear above all from the Iraqis and from the Prime Minister on how best we can help.
General George Casey, the top commander on the ground in Iraq, says he has asked for more troops when he thought he needed them, and said he's open to a surge if the reinforcements have a clear mission that can be accomplished militarily.
3 or 4 times I've asked for additional troops, but they've been for a purpose. They've been for an election or to take advantage of an opportunity that was presented as a result of the operations in Fallujah. So I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea, but what I want to see happen is if we do bring more American troops here, they help us progress toward our strategic objectives.
Even General John Abizaid, who's been the most adamant opponent to sending more U.S. troops to Iraq, indicated he might go along with a surge if that's what the President and the Pentagon wanted to try.
I think it's safe to say that absolutely all options are on the table. We're looking at every possible thing that might influence the situation to make Baghdad in particular more secure.
Abizaid, who'd been asked to stay on as U.S. Central Commander for another year last spring, is scheduled to retire next March. He's already put his papers in to leave the Army, but insists he's not being pushed aside.
No decision that anybody makes in a position like this is ever totally their decision, but I think the time is right and it has nothing to do with dissatisfaction.
Secretary Gates says he's just now looking at how to increase the size of both the Army and the Marine Corps, something that will take time and is expensive. Adding 10,000 troops adds an estimated $1.2 to $1.5 billion to the Army's annual budget.
Gates insists the plan to expand the size of the U.S. military is unrelated to the possible surge of tens of thousands of additional U.S. troops here to Baghdad. But the fact is, were it not for the strain that the Iraq War was putting on the U.S. military, the expansion plan would not be the priority it is. Wolf?
Jamie McIntyre, the only TV correspondent traveling with the new defense secretary. Coming up, we'll have much more on the war in Iraq. We'll take a closer look at one of America's most dangerous foes in the region. Plus, that monster snowstorm shutting down Denver, closing the international airport of the Mile High City. We're only minutes away from a live report. Stay with us.
Around the world, brought to you by Sprint Business. Get the power to make just about any place a workplace. Sprint, power up.
Who's faster, Sprint Mobile Broadband or Singular's Edge? Sprint Mobile Broadband gives you the power to download 5 times faster than Singular's Edge. Work faster with Sprint Mobile Broadband. Get a free mobile broadband card. Visit sprint.com/mobile broadband. Sprint. Power up.
Let me tell you about a very important phone call I made. When I got my Medicare card, I realized I needed an AARP Medicare Supplement insurance card too.
One simple call gave me the chance to talk with a personal health insurance advisor
who answered all my questions about Medicare supplement plans.
If you're already on or eligible for Medicare, call now to find out how an AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan, insured by United Healthcare Insurance Company, helps you pay some of the 20% of your medical expenses not covered by Medicare Part B. That can save you thousands of dollars. These are the only Medicare supplement insurance plans exclusively endorsed by AARP, a name you trust. When you call now, we'll send you this free information kit, plus this free guide to understanding Medicare.
I can keep my own doctor and choose my own hospital.
and I don't need a referral to see a specialist.
Call 1-800-673-4168 now. A personal health insurance advisor is waiting.
No matter where people are going, we're all going in the same direction.
the future, something we're thinking about today. A good example? This ultra-clean diesel fuel we're producing in the U.S. It contains 97% less sulfur, and we can all benefit from that. I'm Chris Erickson, and I work for ExxonMobil.
And to our viewers, you're in the Situation Room, where new pictures and information are arriving all the time, happening now. Rescue officials in Oregon now giving up hope of finding those two missing climbers on Mount Hood alive. They're switching the mission from a rescue operation to a recovery operation, saying they've done all they can to find Brian Hall and Jerry Cook. Also, blizzard conditions pounding parts of Colorado, Kansas, and Nebraska. A major storm threatening to dump as much as 2 feet of snow on the Denver area. The city's airport has just shut down operations, and drivers who take to the roads are doing it at their own risk. And the Pentagon reportedly seeking almost $100 billion extra for the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, that according to the Associated Press. That would more than double this year's budget for the Iraq mission and bring the total cost to some $350 billion since the start of the war. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. Winter officially begins tomorrow, but it's already out in force in Colorado. You can see the live pictures coming in behind me. A major storm making travel dangerous, if not impossible. Denver's main international airport has just shut down. Let's get the latest from George Epp. He's with the Colorado Division of Emergency Management. He's joining us on the phone. The pictures look awful, Mr. Epp, but give our viewers a sense of how bad it is.
Well, we're getting hammered pretty good. This is a classic storm where we get the moisture from the Gulf hitting the cold jet stream head on, and it just spirals into the front range of Colorado. All the major highways out of Denver to the east, south, and north are closed. Most every event has been canceled. We've got Red Cross shelters opened in a number of areas, and a lot of crews out rescuing stranded motorists. How well conditioned is the Denver, Colorado area for this kind of blizzard? Well, this is nothing new. We've had these type of blizzards periodically over the years. Sometimes we forget the things that we learned from the last one, and we try to pick up where we left off. But overall, we're responding pretty well. People have responded well to our pleas to stay off the highways and just go someplace warm and safe until it's over. Well, that's a key question, warm and safe. Are there problems with power, with electricity, to make sure that people can stay warm and safe? So far, we haven't heard of any problems with major power outages. But again, a lot of our citizens are experienced with this kind of thing, and the power goes out sometimes, and they know how to deal with it. Was there any significant warning, or did this just sort of spring up? We had pretty good warning from the Weather Service. We knew this was coming and prepared as best we could. What are your forecasters telling you? How much longer is the snow going to continue, and these blizzard conditions going to be in effect? We expect this storm that it will continue snowing until about noon tomorrow. George Epp with the Colorado Office of Emergency Management Operations. Good luck to you, Mr. Epp. Good luck to all of our friends in Colorado as well as in Nebraska and Kansas. Blizzard conditions affecting big areas of the country out there. Thank you very much. Coming up, expanding the U.S. military and moving more troops into Iraq. Options President Bush clearly looking at right now. We'll talk about all of that with Senator Carl Levin. He's going to be the chairman of the Armed Services Committee starting next month. Plus, what would you do with a $53 million bonus? One CEO is facing that dilemma this holiday season, and he's not alone. Details coming up. Stay with us.
Every ATM fee from any machine at any bank, anywhere in the country, automatically refunded. You just have to celebrate. Go to eTrade.com and be blown away.
Here's a radically simple suggestion from eLoan. If your adjustable mortgage rate keeps rising, maybe it's time to call eLoan at 1-800-TRY-eLoan or go to eLoan.com for a fixed-rate mortgage with one low monthly payment. eLoan. Radically simple.
Hey, you got Singular?
No. Sprint.
Sprint mobile broadband downloads 5 times faster than Singular's Edge.
Well, I'm done.
Because in business, it pays to keep moving. Get the power of the nation's largest mobile broadband network. Get a free mobile broadband card. Visit sprint.com/mobile broadband. Sprint. Power up.
Wherever good can overcome, that is where your contributions to the Salvation Army go.
President Bush says he's weighing whether to send more U.S. troops to Iraq, but does the United States have enough troops available? That possible short-term increase for Iraq comes as the U.S. military faces a longer-term personnel problem. Let's turn to our Pentagon correspondent, Barbara Starr. Barbara?
Well, Wolf, the military is stretched thin, the troops are exhausted, so it's really no surprise that President Bush and the generals are talking about a larger military force.
It's a question of supply and demand. Not enough troops for the wars being fought. Defense Secretary Robert Gates is in Baghdad getting recommendations from commanders on permanently increasing the size of the Army and Marine Corps. He will report back to President Bush.
I'm inclined to believe this is a good idea is because I understand that we're going to be in a long struggle against radicals and extremists, and we must make sure that our military has the capability to stay in the fight for a long period of time.
The Army is under the most pressure. In the last 5 years, 25,000 soldiers have been added, but commanders now want to add as many as 50,000 more. It's been a massive decline since the Vietnam years. In 1970, the active duty Army had more than 1 million troops. New troops could take years to add.
Optimistically, we could add 6,000 to 7,000 soldiers per year. In my view.
But then they must be trained.
There's maybe 10 to 12 weeks of boot camp, 10 to 12 weeks of specialized training in whatever weapons capability one is going to become an expert in.
And it will be expensive. It costs $13,000 to recruit a single soldier and $1.2 billion a year to pay for salaries and training for every 10,000 troops. No one can predict what it all might cost in new tanks, helicopters, and Humvees.
Frankly, we entered this war flat-footed. Investment accounts were underfunded in the Army by approximately $100 billion, resulting in nearly $56 billion in equipment shortages across the Army.
You know, Wolf, during the 1990s alone, the size of the Army shrunk by about 500,000 soldiers. The generals now say that peace dividend is gone. They simply need more troops. Wolf?
Thank you for that, Barbara Starr at the Pentagon. On Capitol Hill, there are some who are now saying, "We told you so," following the president's call for a larger military. And joining us now from Capitol Hill, the incoming chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Carl Levin, Democrat of Michigan. What do you make, Senator, about it seems like a major change in the Bush administration's policy for the president now to support a larger U.S. Army, a larger U.S. Marine Corps, because, as you know, the former Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld resisted all those appeals over the past 6 years.
Well, the administration has resisted the appeals. They've even resisted the effort on the part of mainly Democrats when we tried to increase the size of the Army and the Marines in these annual budgets. We heard from the budget offices that they didn't want to do that. It wasn't just Rumsfeld, but we have to assume the president himself has resisted increases in the military because perhaps it would have signaled that we weren't doing as well as he was claiming we were doing. But whatever the reason was that there was resistance, there was that resistance.
He thought that the U.S. could get a lot of the job done with a smaller, leaner U.S. Army, a smaller, more high-tech Marine Corps, but you were pretty skeptical, I take it, from the beginning.
Well, I think a lot of us felt that, particularly as overstretched as the Army and Marines particularly were, and given the missions that they were given, that you just couldn't get this, you couldn't, in all fairness, accomplish whatever the missions were that were being undertaken. So we made this effort in the last number of years to increase the size and just ran in this continued stone wall on the part of the administration.
Part of the stone wall was because it's very expensive, as you know, to have thousands of more active duty U.S. armed forces. It's not going to be cheap.
It will not be cheap. On the other hand, if it's needed, we've got to do it. The most important thing I believe we can do is to move our forces, at least some of our forces, out of Iraq. I think that's going to also help reduce some of the pressure on our forces. But in any event, we can't get by with the current structure that we have. It's just simply too much stress on the men and women in the military and their families. But I also would add to this measure that we've got to find our way out of Iraq sooner rather than later for a lot of reasons, and that's cost being one of them.
But you know, some analysts are suggesting that this recognition on the part of the president now suddenly to go for a bigger army, a bigger Marine Corps, could be linked to what some are calling a surge in U.S. military capability in Iraq, another 20, 30, maybe 40,000 additional troops. And maybe if the president says, you know what, we're going to build up the U.S. Army and the Marine Corps, that will help ease the way for a surge over the next several months. Is that something you would go along with?
Well, I don't support the surge. I think it'd be a mistake to get in deeper into Iraq. When General Abizaid was in front of us, he didn't support the reductions which we were proposing in our forces in Iraq, but he also very strongly opposed increasing the number of forces in Iraq, because he basically said that would take the pressure off the Iraqis to reach a political settlement, which is the only way in which this violence can end, is through a political settlement on the part of Iraqis. So General Abizaid himself very strongly opposed an increase in the number of forces in Iraq.
Last Sunday, the incoming Senate Majority Leader, Harry Reid, seemed to suggest that he would go along with it. He would support it if it were temporary for a few months.
He also used the words if it was part of a program, and I think perhaps what he was referring to is that if there's a program, a real program where there's a political settlement which works and which is proven to reduce the violence, that he then, I think, said would consider a temporary increase in troops, particularly in Baghdad. But he still very strongly believes, and has said so publicly, that we've got to tell the Iraqis that their future's in their hands, not ours, and that they've got to reach a political settlement is the only way to eliminate violence. He still believes in the formula which we Democrats offered to the Congress, and in the Senate they had a vote on it back in June, which was to tell the Iraqis that we're going to begin to reduce forces in 4 to 6 months as a way of forcing them to face reality. The president has rejected that before the election. I think now there's a lot of people who are telling him, including the study group, that we've got to put the pressure on the Iraqis, the onus on them to form a nation. We can't do it for them.
The number 2 of al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri, released another videotape that was on Al Jazeera today. Among other things, he said this, and I'll read it to you, a translation from the Arabic, Senator. A message to the Democrats in America: you aren't the ones who won the midterm elections, nor are the Republicans the ones who lost. Rather, the Mujahideen are the ones who won, and the American forces and their Crusader allies are the ones who lost. The Mujahideen won't stop inflicting losses on you until you leave our lands. Here's the question, Senator. It's very frustrating, more than 5 years after 9/11. The number 2 al-Qaeda leader, he's still able to go on television, make these statements. The hunt for him, the hunt for Osama bin Laden, based on the information you know, where does that stand?
Well, the hunt goes on, obviously, for them, but this is a much more comprehensive effort than just the hunt for two people. The question here is how do we reduce the threat of terrorism? And unhappily, the way in which the policies have been unfolding and the way they were set has, I think, played right into the hands of the people that want to kill us.
Senator Carl Levin, the incoming chairman of the Armed Services Committee, speaking with me earlier. As the new Defense Secretary, Robert Gates, gets a closer look at the situation in Iraq right now, he's in Baghdad, the world is getting a closer look at one of America's most dangerous foes there. Let's turn to CNN's Brian Todd. He's picking up this part of the story. Brian?
Wolf, in public, Shia cleric Muqtada al-Sadr is all about projection, readily displaying his confidence, his power. But there are signs that that power is fraying a bit, and that was on vivid display on an extraordinary piece of videotape shot behind closed doors.
His gestures tell only part of the story. On a tape released without his approval, one of Iraq's most feared, most powerful men lashes out at a subordinate.
Enough with the nagging. Criticism, criticism.
Muqtada al-Sadr, revered by millions for standing up, sometimes violently, to U.S. forces, for holding sway over the country's prime minister, for commanding a militia that rules much of Baghdad. There are recent indications that al-Sadr does not have complete control of his Mahdi army, that several militiamen within that lethal band are going off on their own. This tape, posted by the website IraqSlogger.com, shows that al-Sadr doesn't always have control of one of his own spokesmen.
You don't have the right to ignore my directives or not listen to me.
It's not clear precisely when this tape was made, but one analyst believes this shows that al-Sadr's attempt to project the stature of his father, a popular, martyred Shia cleric, is falling flat.
He's not comfortable where he stands, he's insecure. He comes along as somebody who deals with other people in an equal position and not from a leadership position.
Leadership, clearly an issue with Muqtada al-Sadr, as he chides his assistant for the way he spoke about a rival.
I'm not happy with the fact that you used a mosque podium to praise Abdulaziz.
He's talking about Abdulaziz al-Hakim, head of Iraq's largest Shia party. Al-Sadr's show of jealousy comes as CNN gets word that Iraq's top Shia figure, Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani, is giving indications through his aides that he wants all Shia leaders to show more unity and possibly even reach out to moderate Sunnis and Kurds.
Would that effort leave Muqtada al-Sadr out in the cold? Not likely. He already controls 6 ministries and 30 seats in parliament. And observers in Baghdad tell us, despite his exasperation on that tape, there is no indication that he's losing any significant amount of power. Wolf?
And no indication yet that the Prime Minister, Nouri al-Maliki, is going to go after him directly. We'll watch this story together with you, Brian. Thank you. There are some new developments in that CIA leak trial and a high-profile potential witness who doesn't want to testify. We're going to have the latest details. Stick around for that. Also ahead, big bonuses on Wall Street, some setting records. You'll be surprised at just how much some CEOs are going to wind up getting. Nice Christmas gift. Stay with us.
The Situation Room is brought to you by Head On. Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On is available without prescription at your nearest pharmacy.
Head On, apply direct.
Head On, apply directly to your forehead. Head On, apply. Head On. I can't stand your commercial, but your product is amazing.
Head On is available without a prescription. New from the makers of Head On. Introducing Activon. Joint and muscle pain? Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Joint and Muscle. In stores now. New from the makers of Head On. Introducing Activon. Arthritis pain? Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Arthritis. In stores now.
Why aren't middle-class wages going up? Why does it take 2 incomes just to get by?
Lou Dobbs tonight. CNN coming up next.
It's time for Anthony.
You know, I've always avoided these rickshaw rides, but I just said, what the heck, let's just go for it. Because when you travel, you really got to live in your discomfort zone, right? You can go faster.
Passport to Europe now also in prime time. Thursdays at 8, only on the Travel Channel.
See your Northwest Chevy dealer today or visit us online at shopforchevy.com and find out more about the 100,000-mile GM warranty.
Hello? Oh, hi, Mom. Today? House hunting? No, he'll be with us.
must be cbseal.com. See every house in the market in one place. The interactive home search finds everything close to where you want to live. Use it to pre-qualify, check the payment, and find a realtor. Looking for a new home? Watch the Tour of Homes, brought to you daily by Coldwell Banker Barbara Sue Seal Properties on Comcast Cable Channel 15.
It's a whole lot of fun.
Cars are fun. Shopping for them should be too. vhix.com. Just click autos on comcast.net.
The Portland Winterhawks and Comcast CNW 14 provide hard-hitting, fast-paced hockey action. It's on TV, and it's in the center of Hockey Town, Portland's Memorial Coliseum. Nearly 100 former Winterhawks have played in the National Hockey League. Come and see the best 17 to 20-year-old hockey players in the world. And when you can't make the game, catch the action on Comcast CNW 14.
CNN presents After Jesus, tonight, 7 Eastern.
Let's check in once again with Carol Costello for a closer look at some other important stories making news. Carol?
Hi, Wolf. Hello to all of you. This just in to CNN. Attorneys for Joseph Wilson filed a motion this afternoon to quash a subpoena requiring him to testify in the Lewis Scooter Libby CIA leak trial. Wilson is the husband of Valerie Plame. He argues he should not have to testify because he has no personal knowledge of the leak. Libby will go on trial in connection with the exposure of an undercover CIA agent. We'll keep you posted. Also, Republican Representative Virgil Goode says he will not apologize for remarks he made about immigration reform and Muslims. In a recent letter to constituents, the Virginia congressman says, without immigration reform, quote, there will be many more Muslims elected to office demanding the use of the Quran. Goode's spokesman says the letter was written in response to complaints that a new congressman requested to be sworn in with the Quran. Minnesota's Keith Ellison is the first Muslim to be elected to Congress. Goode's spokesman says Goode does stand by his comment. Back to you, Wolf.
Carol, thank you very much for that. Very happy holidays indeed for some Wall Street executives enjoying record bonuses this year, including one CEO getting more than $53 million. CNN's Mary Snow is joining us from New York. She has the story. Mary?
Well, Wolf, on Wall Street, you could almost imagine the champagne corks popping. And on Main Street, don't be surprised to see jaws dropping at the fat bonuses being paid out this year to investment bankers. Call it a sign of the times. A bottle of champagne being advertised in New York for $14,950.
We put an ad in the Times a week ago because we were reading about all the incredible bonuses coming out of Wall Street.
Bonuses like the $53.4 million one going to Goldman Sachs CEO Lloyd Blankfein. It breaks the record set last week for the $40 million bonus for Morgan Stanley CEO John Mack.
100,000 is plenty. These guys are millionaires already. They're getting all that money, you know?
It's good for everyone. Good for the workers, good for everyone in the country.
Opinion is divided on the fortunes being doled out. Wall Street is estimated to pay out $24 billion, that's billion with a B, in bonuses this year. That equals the gross domestic product of countries like Qatar and Panama. Gustavo Dofino runs a recruiting firm that places mid to top level people in the financial industry. For clients like his, he says the average bonus, just the average, is between $4 and $7 million.
Some people could say it's excessive, but it's not easy to generate this kind of money.
So you don't think it's excessive?
No, I think it's well-deserved.
Many on Wall Street say profits are being fueled by a strong market, mergers and acquisitions, and growth in places like Asia. Others question the size of these payouts.
These kinds of things, because they are so large and because they get so much attention, I think call into question whether we want a society in which the very, very top people make so much more than everybody else.
Steve Pearlstein of the Washington Post asked whether these big profits are a result of the lack of competition. In the meantime, real estate brokers, car salesmen, even a wine salesman, hoping Wall Street workers will share the wealth. And rumors have been flying as to how big some of these bonuses actually are. A spokesman for Goldman Sachs pointed out that while the firm doesn't comment on individual bonuses, he said a report of a $100 million bonus was far from the mark. Wolf?
Mary, thank you for that. Scouring the web for photos could soon become easier thanks to new facial recognition technology. Our internet reporter Abby Tatton is here with our Welcome to the Future report. Abby?
Wolf, when you're searching for images online, you don't always get what you're looking for. Search Wolf Blitzer on Google, for example. You'll get pictures of Wolf and Jack Cafferty, even this fish named Wolf Blitzer. Really any image that appears alongside the name. New search technology from Swedish company Polar Rose aims to change all that, letting you search a person's facial features. The new tool uses facial recognition software combined with 3D imaging to turn this flat photo into a virtual 3D portrait, which is easier to match to any picture. That portrait is used to search through the reams and reams of online photos and recognize the people in them. Polar Rose CEO Nikolai Nyholm acknowledges the 3D imaging is not completely reliable. There will be false matches. That's why they're relying on user input, asking users to confirm the matches are indeed correct. Nyholm says they have strong interest in the technology from photo sharing websites as a way to organize and sort photos online. The technology is set to launch early next year. Soon you'll be able to ensure that when you search on Wolf Blitzer, you'll get the man and not the fish. Wolf?
Thank you. I didn't know there was a fish named Wolf Blitzer, but thanks for that, Abby. Appreciate it. Up next, should the U.S. military expand? Jack Cafferty with your email when we come back.
Welcome to the Future is sponsored by Hitachi. Only Hitachi unleashes the true power of plasma. And by Johnson & Johnson. At Johnson & Johnson, we believe nursing is the essence of caring. Log on to cnn.com/future for more on the reality of what the future may hold.
The true power and beauty of plasma is often hidden, unable to be captured. Only Hitachi original technologies unleash the most lifelike color and detail in plasma. Introducing the world's highest resolution 42-inch plasma HD TV, only from Hitachi.
At Johnson & Johnson, we understand the importance of a nurse's touch.
Checking the baby and listening to his heart and, thinking maybe you don't hear something quite right and alerting the doctor. I am one of the few people who knows what to do in that kind of situation.
A nurse's touch can touch the world.
I know I make a difference. It's my niche in life. It's where I belong.
Nurses, we need you more than ever. A message of caring from Johnson & Johnson.
At eHarmony, you don't search for a match. We bring highly compatible matches to you based on 29 proven dimensions of compatibility. Log on to eHarmony.com and get your personality profile, a $50 value, free.
Here's a radically simple suggestion from eLoan. You can lower your rising monthly payments by consolidating your debt with a home equity loan and paying one lower monthly rate. Just call 1-800-TRY-eLoan or go to eLoan.com. eLoan, radically simple.
Everything you're looking at easily fits into this Pods brand container. It's amazing. So call Pods right now to solve your moving and storage nightmares and stop paying expensive storage facilities. We'll deliver a Pods brand container to your home or business. Pack your container and keep it, or we'll pick it up and store it for you and re-deliver at your convenience.
I'd recommend them to anyone.
Call Pods right now, then relax.
Check back with Jack Cafferty for the Cafferty File. Jack?
Have you given any thought to what kind of fish it might be named? Wolf Blitzer?
Goldfish, maybe?
Maybe a goldfish.
Yeah.
The question this hour is, should the U.S. Armed Forces expand? Ron writes, Jack, absolutely. Why not do like other countries do and make all young people, male and female, give their country 2 years of their lives? They enjoy all the benefits of being American, so let's make it mandatory for all young people to serve. Dallas in Sophia, West Virginia, no, we don't need to expand the military. What we need is people making decisions on when and where to use the forces we have. Iraq sounds more and more like Vietnam. Increase the number of troops there, and we'll just get more of them killed. Kathy in Williamsburg, Virginia. Jack, yes, I'm a retired military person myself and knew at the time of the downsizing during the Clinton years we would be paying for it later. Any deployment to any hostile area puts a great deal of stress on the soldiers. Do it 3 or 4 times and you're asking for trouble. They're only human, and the rubber band has been stretched so far, it's only a matter of time before it snaps. Chris in Clifton Park, New York. Expand? No. The only reason President Bush wants to expand the military is because of how much it has gotten smaller because of his wrongdoings in the Middle East. Bring our troops home. We'll have enough here to take care of ourselves and any terrorist acts here. And George in Crestview, Florida, an overwhelming yes. I was in the Army on active duty for 27 years, another 18 as a civilian employee. And I watched as the Army went from 900,000 to less than 500,000. There didn't seem to be a reduction in missions, just longer hours for the duty day. While there are some really great people serving, you can't just keep running them into the ground as we are doing. I don't particularly agree with what we're doing in Iraq, but as long as we're going to do it, we need to add more troops to the Army, so in a couple of years there'll be more to share that load. If you didn't see your email here, you can go to cnn.com/Cafferty file. We post some more of them online. Wolf?
Interesting. The president's now ready to expand the active duty Army and Marine Corps right after Rumsfeld leaves.
Well, you know, isn't that convenient for President Bush? He can lay off, I suppose, any negative public opinion on the fact that Rumsfeld didn't want to do it this way. He's in charge, as he reminds us almost daily.
We got to leave it there, Jack. Thanks very much, Jack Cafferty in New York. That's it for us. Let's go to Lou Dobbs tonight. Kitty Pilgrim sitting in. Kitty?
Thanks, Wolf. Tonight, President Bush says victory is still achievable in Iraq, but admits that insurgents have had success. Also, child care costs are soaring. Working Americans are struggling. We'll have a special report, War on the Middle Class. All of that and much more straight ahead.
This is Lou Dobbs Tonight. News, debate, and opinion for Wednesday, December 20th. Live in New York, sitting in for Lou Dobbs, Kitty Pilgrim.
Good evening, everybody. President Bush today acknowledged that 2006 has been a difficult year for our troops in Iraq. The president said the United States is not succeeding as fast as he would like. President Bush also said he has not decided whether to raise troop numbers in Iraq, and the president said he's inclined to believe the Army and the Marine Corps should be larger. Suzanne Malveaux reports from the White House on the president's end-of-the-year news conference today. Barbara Starr reports from the Pentagon on proposals to increase the size of the Army and Marine Corps. And Jamie McIntyre reports from Baghdad on Defense Secretary Robert Gates' visit to Iraq today. We turn first to Suzanne Malveaux. Suzanne?
Well, Kitty, facing possible lame duck status, President Bush today pledged to work very hard to get things done in the next 2 years with a sprint to the finish. But the big question here, of course, is can he turn things around in Iraq, and how quickly?
The President of the United States.
It was the president's attempt at pushing the reset button.
I'm going to make you this promise. My administration will work with Republicans and Democrats to fashion a new way forward that can succeed in Iraq.
Mr. Bush presented an ambitious New Year's resolution, but his news conference wrapping up the year didn't have a pretty bow. Faced with soaring violence in Iraq, plummeting support for the war at home, and Congress now in the hands of Democrats, this is not the same man who, when re-elected, boasted about having political capital to spend.
But the most painful aspect of the presidency is the fact that I know my decisions have caused young men and women to lose their lives.
Mr. Bush also made clear he still believes in his decision to invade Iraq.
No, I haven't questioned whether or not it was right to take Saddam Hussein out, nor have I questioned the necessity for the American people. I mean, I've questioned it. I've come to the conclusion it was the right decision.
But the president is no longer claiming the U.S. is absolutely winning the Iraq war, as he did during the campaign just 6 weeks ago.
Victory in Iraq is achievable. It hadn't happened nearly as quickly as I hoped it would have.
As his new Defense Secretary Bob Gates embarks on his Fresh Eyes tour in Iraq, Mr. Bush says all options are on the table, including sending more U.S. troops, an unpopular prospect among the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Laying the groundwork, the president has already called to expand the armed forces overall, a move that appears to reject the vision of his departed Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld, who advocated for a leaner fighting force. For a president who does not like to look back, his year-ender press conference inspired some nostalgia.
We began the year with optimism after watching nearly 12 million Iraqis go to the polls to vote for a unity government.
With Iraq now torn by sectarian violence, Mr. Bush resolved to turn things around. But like many of us who make New Year's resolutions, he gave himself an out.
I'm not going to make predictions about what 2007 will look like in Iraq.
But the president did indicate the United States is going to be involved in a struggle against who he calls radicals and extremists for a long period of time. He also said the military has to be capable of sustaining that fight for what he calls a long time, Kitty.
Thanks very much, Suzanne Malveaux. A new CNN opinion poll says public support for the war in Iraq has fallen to a new low. The poll says only 31% of voters favor the war in Iraq. 67% oppose the war. Meanwhile, 27% of voters say the war will end in victory for the United States. 50% believe that it will end in stalemate, and 20% in defeat. Now, this poll was conducted by Opinion Research Corporation. As Suzanne reported, President Bush is considering a permanent increase in the size of the Army and Marine Corps. Such an increase would cost billions of dollars, but it is unclear where all that money will come from. Barbara Starr reports from the Pentagon.
It's a question of supply and demand. Not enough troops for the wars being fought. Defense Secretary Robert Gates is in Baghdad getting recommendations from commanders on permanently increasing the size of the Army and Marine Corps. He will report back to President Bush.
I'm inclined to believe this is a good idea is because I understand that we're going to be in a long struggle against radicals and extremists, and we must make sure that our military has the capability to stay in the fight for a long period of time.
The Army is under the most pressure. In the last 5 years, 25,000 soldiers have been added, but commanders now want to add as many as 50,000 more. It's been a massive decline since the Vietnam years. In 1970, the active duty Army had more than 1 million troops. New troops could take years to add.
Optimistically, we could add 6,000 to 7,000 soldiers per year. In my view.
But then they must be trained.
There's maybe 10 to 12 weeks of boot camp, 10 to 12 weeks of specialized training in whatever weapons capability one is going to become an expert in.
And it will be expensive. It costs $13,000 to recruit a single soldier and $1.2 billion a year to pay for salaries and training for every 10,000 troops. No one can predict what it all might cost in new tanks, helicopters, and Humvees.
Frankly, we entered this war flat-footed. Investment accounts were underfunded in the Army by approximately $100 billion, resulting in nearly $56 billion in equipment shortages across the Army.
And you know, Kitty, in the 1990s alone, the size of the Army declined by about 500,000 troops to its current level. The generals now say that peace dividend is gone. Kitty?
Barbara, it's unclear where this money will come from, and if the president increases the size of the Army and the Marine Corps, might we expect to see big cuts in the Navy and Air Force?
Well, that's unlikely at this point, but that's exactly the problem. No one knows where the money's coming from. The war in Iraq itself is now costing about $2 billion a week. The military will submit a request for additional funding to Congress after the first of the year, somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 billion, and that's before any of the price tag for this expansion of the Army and Marine Corps, Kitty.
That is astronomical. Thanks very much, Barbara Starr. Insurgents in Iraq have killed 3 more of our troops. 2 were killed by roadside bombs south of Baghdad. Another was killed in Al-Anbar province. 66 of our troops have been killed or have died in the war this month. 2,955 troops have been killed or have died since this war began. Another 22,401 troops have been wounded, 10,050 of them so seriously they could not return to duty within 3 days. Meanwhile, the number of Iraqis being killed continues to rise. 18 people were killed in 2 car bomb attacks in Baghdad, and the police today found the bodies of 76 Iraqis dumped in the Iraqi capital. The new Defense Secretary, Robert Gates, today visited Baghdad to discuss U.S. military strategy in Iraq. So far, Gates is not saying how he believes U.S. strategy should change. Jamie McIntyre is the only network TV reporter traveling with Gates, and he reports from Baghdad.
Just 3 days into the job, Robert Gates emerged from a C-17 cargo plane after an overnight flight from Washington and went straight into meetings with his top commanders in Baghdad. The big topic on the agenda, President Bush's interest in surging tens of thousands of additional U.S. troops to try to bring the escalating violence under control in the Iraqi capital.
We've discussed the possibility of a surge and the potential for what it might accomplish. I think it's very important in this case to hear above all from the Iraqis and from the Prime Minister on how best we can help.
General George Casey, the top commander on the ground in Iraq, says he has asked for more troops when he thought he needed them, and said he's open to a surge if the reinforcements have a clear mission that can be accomplished militarily.
3 or 4 times I've asked for additional troops, but they've been for a purpose. They've been for an election or to take advantage of an opportunity that was presented as a result of the operations in Fallujah. So I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea, but what I want to see happen is if we do bring more American troops here, they help us progress toward our strategic objectives.
Even General John Abizaid, who's been the most adamant opponent to sending more U.S. troops to Iraq, indicated he might go along with a surge if that's what the President and the Pentagon wanted to try.
I think it's safe to say that absolutely all options are on the table. We're looking at every possible thing that might influence the situation to make Baghdad in particular more secure.
Gates insists the plan to expand the size of the U.S. military is unrelated to the possible surge of tens of thousands of additional U.S. troops here to Baghdad. But the fact is, were it not for the strain the Iraq War was putting on the military, the expansion plan would not be the priority it is. Jamie McIntyre, CNN, Baghdad.
General John Abizaid, the commander of all U.S. troops in the Middle East, plans to retire in March. General Abizaid has led Central Command for more than 3 years. He says it's the right time for him to step down, and he insists he's not being pushed aside. Still to come, President Bush gives his opinion on a signature issue for our beleaguered middle class. We'll have a special report on that. Also, middle-class families face soaring child care expenses as they struggle to pay for basic living costs. And new outrage over gaping holes in border security after a Native American community bans the National Guard. We'll have a special report.
Lou Dobbs Tonight. Brought to you by Fidelity Investments. Smart move.
It's the time of the season when love runs high in this time.
Moving your 401ks to Fidelity is groovy. Our retirement specialists make it so easy, they'll even do most of the paperwork. You dig? Call 1-800-FIDELITY. Smart move.
This Christmas, there's only one gift guaranteed to get women to take their clothes off. A pajamagram. Spoil your wife or girlfriend and give her what she really wants. We've got all the top brands of pajamas and lingerie. Over 100 styles, from comfy to sexy. A pajamagram is the perfect Christmas gift. She'll think of you every time she puts them on. Every pajamagram is delivered in a hat box she'll love, along with a lavender sachet, a gift card, and a Do Not Disturb sign, all free. We have great bath and body gifts, too. All that spa stuff women just love. Call or shop online at pajamagrams.com. It only takes minutes, but she'll think you spent all month planning it. Overnight delivery is guaranteed, so call now or shop online at pajamagrams.com. It's a gift you'll both love.
Stop paying too much for phone service. Switch to Vonage and you'll save up to 50% on your phone bill. You'll get unlimited local and long distance, voicemail, caller ID, call waiting, all for just $24.99 a month. Plus 1 month free. Vonage, leading the internet phone revolution.
When faith brought civilization to its core and religion becomes revolution. A special CNN Presents, narrated by Liam Neeson. After Jesus, tonight, 7 Eastern.
I'm going to the most dangerous place on earth, Times Square on New Year's Eve. Join me live with celebrations from around the world, plus music from Lionel Richie, the B-52s, the Goo Goo Dolls, and who knows who else will show up. CNN New Year's Eve, 11 p.m. Eastern.
President Bush today gave his strongest support yet for the sharp increase in the nation's minimum wage, but it comes too late to help many working men and women. Gas and energy prices have shot up, and a new report says child care costs are skyrocketing. Casey Wine reports on a presidential about-face that may finally give American workers higher wages. And Lisa Sylvester reports on a child care crisis that is hurting many American families. We begin with Casey Wine in Los Angeles. Casey?
Kitty, before today, President Bush would only say he was willing to work with Democrats who wanted to raise the federal minimum wage. Now he's all but caved in to their demands. Saying the message of the midterm election was clear, President Bush now says he supports raising the federal minimum wage to $7.25 an hour from just $5.15 today.
I support the proposed $2.10 increase in the minimum wage over a 2-year period. I believe we should do it in a way that does not punish the millions of small businesses that are creating most of the new jobs in our country. So I support pairing it with targeted tax and regulatory relief.
Democrats are pushing to raise the minimum wage for the first time in 9 years, the longest stretch without an increase ever. During that same period, federal lawmakers have voted to boost their own salaries 8 times. Workers earning the federal minimum today have lost 20% of their purchasing power since 1997.
Most people get cost of living adjustments for their wages. That hasn't been happening for minimum wage workers. We're enabling people who are at the bottom rung of the economic ladder to get back to where they should have been if we had had inflation indexing all this time.
Meanwhile, 29 states and the District of Columbia have either raised or next year will raise their minimum wages above the federal level. While the feds have done nothing, California has approved 6 minimum wage hikes since 1997. Most recently, Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger approved increases to $7.50 an hour in January and then $8 in 2008.
Essentially what the increase that he's established will do, it'll add $2.5 billion to the incomes of the 2 million people that are earning minimum wage. So it'll have a significant impact for lower paid workers.
Despite the dire warnings of economists claiming minimum wage increases are job killers, California's unemployment rate has plunged from 6.3% in 1997 to 4.5% today. Now, as for the president's desire to include a small business tax cut in any minimum wage bill, Democrats say they prefer taking that up as a separate issue. Kitty?
All right, thanks very much, Casey Wyan. That brings us to our poll question tonight. Do you believe the current federal minimum wage of $5.15 an hour is too low? Cast your vote, yes or no, and we'll bring you the results a little bit later in the broadcast. And the current minimum wage has made it difficult for many families to pay even for the most basic necessities, and among those, child care costs. Lisa Sylvester has our report.
So did you have any dreams last night, Kat?
Jim Graham, a freelance writer, and his wife have 2 children, Gavin 5 and Mathea 2. This morning, he shuttles them off to daycare.
Here, let me see that nose.
The Graham family, like many working Americans, grapple with rising child care costs. Full-time daycare for their 2 children costs about $20,000 a year, something they cannot afford.
You talk about saving for college. You're spending almost that much right now on having kids in daycare for children who are 2 years old.
In New Hampshire, where the Grahams live, child care costs have soared 88% over the last 5 years, according to a study commissioned by the University of New Hampshire.
We looked at a 2-parent family with 2 young children, and for that family, child care expenses can be almost a quarter of the budget. The only bigger expense is rent and utilities.
Nationally, the cost of child care jumped nearly 7% last year alone. Daycare costs have shot up, like other household expenses, with inflation. Policy experts say state and federal governments should do more to help working families, beginning with raising the federal child care tax credit
that has been increased only once since 1980.
It's amazing. You ask any working family and they tell you that they would like to have help with their child care costs, but if you look at what we're doing in Washington to help these families, it's very, very little.
The Graham family ultimately decided full-time daycare was just too expensive. They can only afford it 3 times a week. The other days, Jim Graham does duty as a stay-at-home dad.
Democratic leaders say they will try to pass a number of bills in the first days in office aimed at helping the middle class, including that plan to raise the minimum wage and another proposal that would help working families pay for daycare expenses. Kitty?
Lisa, it's a big issue, very much overlooked by the policymakers in our country. Thanks very much, Lisa Sylvester. Coming up, the battle between Border Patrol and Native American communities escalates tonight. And President Bush reflects on a bleak year at a pivotal point in his presidency. We'll have a special report. And a blizzard is moving out of the Rocky Mountains into the Plain States. It's creating havoc on the roads and in the air. It's even forcing the shutdown of a major airport.
We can afford SAP software on a mid-sized company budget. This better not be another prank by the guys in procurement.
Fantastic. Quality. Wow.
Thanks to the latest Bose technology, it is now possible to have for the first time the same noise reduction benefits in on-ear headphones as we achieved in the award-winning Quiet Comfort 2 around-ear headphones. And now you can choose your preferred style, QC2 or the new QC3 headphones. Wear them when you fly to experience less noise at the flick of a switch. And create your own private sanctuary. Originally designed for planes, owners tell us about other uses, less distraction at work, to unwind after a hectic day, or to find your own space.
Sound quality is fantastic. Peace.
Order QC2s or the new smaller QC3 headphones. Try them risk-free for 30 days. Order by January 31st for a free MP3 player, and you can make 12 easy payments. Quiet Comfort headphones. Hear the difference Bose technology makes.
When religion becomes revolution. A special CNN presents After Jesus, tonight, 7 Eastern.
Roger.
As a kid, I used technology to help people do better. Today, Scottrade does the same for online investors with more powerful trading and account management tools, fast, accurate $7 trades, and offices near you, wherever you are. Open a Scottrade account today and get more for your money.
Buy once, give twice. Our children's store, a holiday season gift store benefiting children's charities, is now open through mid-January on the corner of Southwest 9th and Morrison in the Galleria. For over a decade, our children's store has raised more than $1 million for children's charities in Oregon and Southwest Washington. This holiday season, we invite you to come shop, have a private party, order corporate gift baskets, or purchase gift certificates. We have gifts for all occasions and all ages. And remember, every item you buy benefits children in crisis in our community. So buy once, give twice.
From all of us at CNN, best wishes for 2007.
Last week, we reported on a decision by one community on an Indian reservation in Arizona. It's right on the border with Mexico. Well, one community decided to stop the National Guard from using its land to patrol the border. There are new developments tonight that underline the importance of patrols in this area, and Bill Tucker is here with an update on that. Bill?
Kitty, you know, there are about 20 Native American reservations in the state of Arizona. The Tohono O'odham is one of the largest reservations in the state. It's just about the size of the state of Connecticut. The reservation sits right along the border with Mexico, as you can see there. It has the distinction, as infamous as it may be, of being the region where the highest number of illegal crossings occur and has the largest number of drug smuggling trails. Just yesterday, police found 2 abandoned pickup trucks on the reservation. They were loaded with nearly 2 tons of marijuana. Tonight, we have learned from law enforcement officials in the area that marijuana seizures alone along this section of the border are up 238% this October, November, and December as compared to last year. Now, in real numbers, Kitty, that's 47 100,000 tons of marijuana as opposed to just 14,000 in the same time period last year.
So it's clearly a major drug route.
Yes.
Now, is the entire reservation against the Border Patrol patrolling the area? This is a large area, the size of the state of Connecticut.
It's huge. This is why the Border Patrol and National Guard are worried about it. So far, it's only one community. The reservation does have a history of cooperating with the federal government. There are 2 Border Patrol stations that are currently on the reservation. And remember, this is sovereign territory. The U.S. law does not apply there. This is tribal law. So clearly, we have had cooperative relations in the past. I don't know what went wrong to cause this one community to become upsetting and keep out the National Guard. But,
it's very clear that a compromise has to be reached
right.
with this amount of drugs coming across.
And there is a negotiation being worked out. We'll see if one can be worked out.
Thanks very much, Bill Tucker. Well, time now for some of your thoughts. And Joanne in Nevada writes, I am a Catholic and I'm against illegal immigration. So why doesn't Bishop Jaime Soto care about my right to a good life? The bishop should be meeting in Mexico, telling the people to stop breaking the laws and start making their country a better place. Good church people are not supposed to lie, cheat, and steal. All right, Kevin in Colorado writes, the saying goes, illegal aliens are doing the jobs that Americans won't do. They must be confused because our newspaper says that the Swift meatpacking plant in Greeley, Colorado, was bombarded by American citizens putting in job applications. And Joseph in Pennsylvania. When President Bush says he doesn't believe in protectionism, that means he doesn't believe in protecting or saving the jobs of the American people. If anyone doesn't believe in protecting or saving American jobs, wouldn't they be considered anti-American? Email us at loudobbs.com. We'll have a few more of your thoughts a little bit later in the broadcast. And each of you whose email is read here will receive a copy of Lou's best-selling new book, War on the Middle Class. And coming up, it looks like Colorado will have a white Christmas and then some. Wild weather grips the West. And then carving out a legacy, President Bush says he is not worrying about it, but that hasn't stopped the speculators. And illegal aliens in the workplace, former employees at Swift & Company are suing for lost wages. The lawyer representing those employees will join us. Also, stay with us tonight for a special edition of CNN Presents, After Jesus, the First Christians, at 7 p.m. Eastern.
This Christmas, there's only one gift guaranteed to get women to take their clothes off. A pajamagram. Spoil your wife or girlfriend and give her what she really wants. We've got all the top brands of pajamas and lingerie. Over 100 styles, from comfy to sexy. A pajamagram is the perfect Christmas gift. She'll think of you every time she puts them on. Every pajamagram is delivered in a hat box she'll love, along with a lavender sachet, a gift card, and a Do Not Disturb sign, all free. We have great bath and body gifts, too. All that spa stuff women just love. Call or shop online at pajamagrams.com. It only takes minutes, but she'll think you spent all month planning it. Overnight delivery is guaranteed, so call now or shop online at pajamagrams.com. It's a gift you'll both love.
Belief is worth dying for, and religion becomes revolution. A special CNN Presents, narrated by Liam Neeson. After Jesus, CNN Next.
Tonight on 360, are the end times near? Does God want you to be rich? With nearly 9 in 10 Americans Christian, what do you believe and where do you fit? What is a Christian? A special 360 tonight, 11 p.m. Eastern.
It's the time of the season when love runs high. In this time,
moving your 401ks to Fidelity is groovy. Our retirement specialists make it so easy, they'll even do most of the paperwork. You dig? Call 1-800-FIDELITY. Smart move.
Now our top stories. President Bush today admitted that insurgents have had success in Iraq, but he declared that victory is still achievable in the war. The new Defense Secretary Robert Gates today made his first visit to Baghdad since he was sworn in. Gates did not say whether he favors a short-term increase in the number of our troops in Iraq. And President Bush today said he supports the increase in the federal minimum wage. Democrats have been demanding an increase for the first time in 9 years. This is the longest period ever without an increase. The sheriff in charge of the search for 2 missing climbers on Oregon's Mount Hood says he's given up hope of finding them alive. And with a new storm barreling in, he did suspend the search today. Now, the sheriff said any future operations would be recovery efforts. And Dan Simon joins us from Hood River with the very latest. Dan?
Well, Kitty, the sheriff says he had an honest conversation with the families of those 2 remaining climbers, a frank conversation where both he and the families concluded that there is simply no chance that those 2 climbers can be alive. He is now calling this a recovery mission, no timetable for that mission. Sometimes you have to wait until the springtime, until the snow thaws, until you can actually recover some of those bodies. In the meantime, he's going to allow his crews to spend the holidays with their families. As for the families of those 2 missing climbers, we are told they have gone home, obviously not with a lot of closure, knowing that their 2 loved ones are still somewhere on that mountain, Kitty.
A terrible time for all of them. Thanks very much, Dan Simon. A major blizzard in Colorado has closed down the Denver International Airport. It's disrupting holiday travel in many parts of the country. Whiteout conditions in the Denver area also shut down highways, schools, and malls, and the officials say the airport was closed because of snow accumulations and poor runway conditions. It will remain closed until further notice. Colorado's governor has declared a state of emergency. The astronauts aboard the Discovery today used a sensor on a long arm to scan the outside of the space shuttle. Now, this NASA simulation shows the equipment used to check for damage to the shuttle's heat shields from tiny meteoroids. Now, the procedure was instituted in the wake of the 2003 Columbia disaster. Discovery is scheduled to land in Florida on Friday. President Bush today acknowledged that it's been a difficult year for our troops in Iraq, and his admission could also apply to his own presidency. The president's challenge now is to shape the public's view of his legacy among the many things he's faced with. John King has our report.
The United States.
He doesn't like public introspection or legacy questions.
Everybody's trying to write the history of this administration even before it's over. I'm reading about George Washington still. My attitude is if they're still analyzing number 1, 43 ought not to worry about it and just do what he thinks is right.
Year-end news conferences are tradition. This one perhaps more important than most because this president is at both a policy and political crossroads.
I'm speaking to the American people, of course, and I want them to know that I know how tough it is.
2/3 of Americans oppose the war, and just 28% in the most recent CNN Opinion Research Corporation poll approve of how the president is handling Iraq.
There's bipartisan angst on the Iraq policy. Everybody's looking for a solution. Everybody knows we can't just walk out.
One goal here was to insist he is learning lessons.
It is important for us to be successful going forward is to analyze that which went wrong. And clearly one aspect of this war that has not gone right is the sectarian violence inside Baghdad.
Translation, it would have helped to have had more troops to keep order in Baghdad when Saddam Hussein's regime fell. Now, a monumental question facing Mr. Bush is whether rushing in more troops will turn things around or whether it's too late.
Iraq is headed in a very dangerous direction. It's already in a state of civil war, and it is headed toward a Bosnia or Lebanon or Congo-like state of all-out civil war.
With Democrats poised to take control of Congress, the president sounds more conciliatory and promises bipartisanship. But he rejects Democratic calls for a timeline to bring troops home. And as he considers sending even more troops into Iraq, Mr. Bush seems mindful of the legacy debate.
The true history of any administration is not going to be written until long after the person is gone. And it's just impossible for short-term history to accurately reflect what has taken place.
And at his traditional year-end news conference, Kitty, the president said 2006 was a tough year for our troops in Iraq and a tough year for the Iraqi people. I think also fair to say a difficult year for him as well.
John, what was striking was President Bush saying we still have more time in this presidency. Let's not finish it out quite yet, despite all the legacy questions today. One thing he did talk about, and you touched on this in your report, was bipartisan cooperation. How much will we see that, and how much will he be able to do?
Well, it's a great question, and the Democrats say they don't know the answer yet. Many Republicans will tell you privately the history of this administration is that they set a policy and then they tell Congress what they're going to do. They don't really consult and seek input from the Congress. The president insists this time it will be different, and he has had some preliminary meetings with both Democrats and Republicans in Congress. What the Democrats say the true test will be is by the end of next week, when the president's close to announcing that new policy in Iraq, will he call them, give them a private briefing, say, this is what I'm inclined to do. What do you think? Any last-minute suggestions? Any input? That is what the Democrats say is the true test of whether this president will be bipartisanship, that he actually seeks their advice and input, not just meet with them.
That will be the real litmus test, John. Any Democratic reaction today?
Most Democrats said so far that the president simply hasn't answered the question framed by the American people when they put the Democrats in power after the midterm elections. The American people, the Democrats would say, are demanding a new policy in Iraq, and with every passing day, the Democrats keep saying, where is that policy, Mr. President? So they say they're running out of patience. The president says to get it right, he needs a little more time.
All right, a full slate in January, clearly. Thanks very much, John King. Still ahead, first, a massive raid by immigration officials, and now Swift & Company is at the center of a $23 million lawsuit by former employees. The attorney representing those employees will join us. Plus, the list of those exploring a run for the White House expands, and our political panel of experts will join us to discuss the current presidential year-end news conference. Stay with us.
Hey, you got Singular?
No. Sprint.
Sprint mobile broadband downloads 5 times faster than Singular's Edge.
Well, I'm done.
Because in business, it pays to keep moving. Get the power of the nation's largest mobile broadband network. Get a free mobile broadband card. Visit sprint.com/mobile broadband. Sprint. Power up.
Hurry to Joseph A. Bank. Wool, silk, corduroy sport coats, $99. Cashmere sweaters, $99. Even $500 goat suede jackets, $99. Plus last-minute bonuses. Sweaters and traveler dress shirts and sport shirts, 2 for $99. Even all luggage, an incredible $99. Only at Joseph A. Bank. Now through Friday.
If you've had a heart attack that reduced how well your heart pumps, your heart medications may not be enough protection. Adding Coreg to your current treatment can help prevent another heart attack. Coreg reduces your heart's workload to help it pump better. Coreg is FDA approved to increase your chances of survival when taken over time.
Coreg is not for everyone, including people prone to asthma, certain heart rhythm problems, slow heart rate, or liver problems. Once you start Coreg, you should continue as directed by your doctor. Patients who abruptly stop therapy may experience chest pain or an increased risk of heart attack. In some cases, patients may experience dizziness or faintness when starting Coreg. You should avoid driving or hazardous tasks if this occurs.
Ask your doctor if Coreg is right for you. Adding Coreg adds cardio protection.
18 former employees from Swift & Company have filed a $23 million lawsuit against the meatpacking firm. Now, this suit accuses the company of conspiring to keep wages down by hiring illegal aliens. Immigration officials raided Swift last week. They arrested 1,200 illegal aliens. Now, Angel Reyes is the attorney representing the former workers, and he joins us from Dallas, Texas. And thanks for being with us, sir.
You're very welcome.
You know, I'd like to turn to something that President Bush actually took up this issue in his end-of-the-year news conference. This is how much this is striking a chord in the national conscience. Let me play a soundbite of what the president had to say.
In some of these packing plants, they found people working that had been illegally, but all of them had documents that said they were here legally. They were using forged documents, which just reminded me that the system we have in place has caused people to rely upon smugglers and forgers in order to do work Americans aren't doing.
Well, I would say the president summed up the situation, but what do you say to the end of that, the work that Americans aren't doing? It seems to be involved in this argument that these are jobs Americans won't do. Is that true?
It is in some ways, but I want to say, first of all, that the president's absolutely right in what he said. With respect to these jobs being jobs that U.S. citizens and resident aliens won't do, let me just tell you that we have anecdotal reports from our clients telling us that over the years, when the Hondurans, Guatemalans, and El Salvadoran folks came up from Central America to take jobs at Swift, some of the older folks that had been working at the plant had to fill out their job applications for them. And in the process of filling out those job applications for them, they realized that these folks had last names like Smith and Jones. And these are, of course, Mexican Americans who speak both Spanish and English in Cactus, who are helping these folks from Honduras and Guatemala fill out their job application forms. And they were wondering, and indeed, just like I'm wondering, how in the world someone from Honduras has a name like Smith? Because I don't know what you know about Honduras, but I don't know many Smiths down there, other than perhaps a tourist or an expat.
Let's get to some hard numbers on this, and you're claiming that the influx of illegal workers has driven the wages down. Wages used to be $20 an hour a few years ago, now are about $12 an hour. Where has the workers' union been in all of this? It seems that they've clearly not been attentive.
Well, I can't speak to the workers' union. What I can speak to are the 18 clients that I represent. And the 18 clients I represent no longer work there, but have all told us that wages have gone down from $20 to around $12 an hour for similar work in the last few years.
Mm-hmm. You know, Homeland Security Assistant Secretary Julie Myers has said that this document fraud is a significant problem, and it's turning into a disturbing new trend. Do you see federal acknowledgement that this is an issue, and do you think that that will help your case?
Well, I think that as everyone knows, ICE last Tuesday raided 5 different plants of Swift, and I think really this is the tip of the iceberg. This, the hospitality industry, the casino industry, the construction trades, all of those industries are probably faced with very similar problems. And I think that indeed this is going to be a much bigger issue than what we're currently seeing here with just this Swift lawsuit.
Let me inform our viewers, we have asked executives at Swift to appear on the program, and also they have declined to, but they did send us a statement, so we'll read it now. The claim is completely without merit. The allegations are fabricated and lack any factual support. Now, we should say that this lawsuit that you've brought is not the only lawsuit involved. Swift brought an unsuccessful lawsuit to stop the raids. They have not been charged, and now you have a lawsuit. Do you have to improve intent, that the company intended to drive wages down? What do you have to prove to win your lawsuit?
Well, we have to actually show that there was a pattern and practice of replacing U.S. citizens with illegal aliens in an effort to drive down hourly wages at the plant. That's just one element of our petition, and there are other elements that we intend to prove as well.
Mm-hmm. You're seeking $23 million in damages. You have 18 plaintiffs. How do you arrive at that number?
Well, let me just tell you that we live in a day and age where most working lives are valued at over $1 million. And I think that that goes for whether you work in Africa, Central America, Mexico, Canada, America, wherever you work. If you work for 50 years, the value of your work life is probably more than $1 million. So that's where we came up with that number. We decided that each and every one of these people was worth at least $1 million of their work life. So that's where we got that number.
All right. Angel Reyes, thanks very much for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you.
A reminder now to vote in tonight's poll. Do you believe the current federal minimum wage of $5.15 an hour is too low? Yes or no? Cast your vote at LouDobbs.com. We'll bring you the results in just a few minutes. And just ahead, another politician joins the presidential race. We'll tell you about the latest entry into an already crowded field. And will the White House send more troops to Iraq? 3 of the country's best political minds will join us to discuss that and a lot more. Stay with us.
When belief is worth dying for and religion becomes revolution, a special CNN presents After Jesus, CNN Next.
Remember when wishes came true? They still can. Introducing the BMW Holiday Wish event, the best time of year to buy the new 328i sedan. Lease a BMW 328i for $329 a month and we'll make a contribution to the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Weekdays on CNBC, Ron Insana gets into the heart of the day's market action. Hardcore business from all the angles. What you could learn from how the pros make money and insight that's uniquely Ron. Street Signs, weekdays on CNBC. Make it your business.
Street Signs on CNBC is brought to you locally by Pacific Continental Bank.
Their first fight was personal.
Ignacio Tito just another chance to shut him up.
For Tito Ortiz, it's all about payback.
I could care less about the belt. I just want to beat Chuck Liddell's ass. I'm gonna hurt him. Like at some point, he's gonna get hurt.
Mickey's and Science present UFC 66, Liddell versus Ortiz 2, live Saturday, December 30th from the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas on Events in Demand pay-per-view.
Mount Hood Ski Bowl, the Portland Winterhawks, and Comcast are giving away free lift tickets to the first 10,000 fans through the door for Mount Hood Ski Bowl night with the Hawks, Thursday, December 28th at 7:30 when they host the Tri-City Americans. Mount Hood Ski Bowl is America's largest night ski area and Oregon's premier snow tube and adventure park. Bring the whole family. Come cheer on the Winterhawks and get a free lift ticket courtesy of Mount Hood Ski Bowl, the Portland Winterhawks, and Comcast on December 28th. Don't miss out.
Well, just when you thought the presidential race couldn't be more crowded, another politician says he'll explore the run for the White House. And you may not know the latest entry into the 2008 presidential race. It is, unless you live in Virginia. Bill Schneider reports.
About a dozen Republicans are exploring a presidential bid. They all call themselves conservatives. Now, former Virginia Governor Jim Gilmore says he's exploring a presidential bid to fill what he calls a void in the Republican race.
I think there is a void. I think there's a need for a committed conservative who's able to put together a national campaign.
A committed conservative? That's an implied criticism of well-known potential candidates whose conservative credentials are open to challenge, like Rudy Giuliani and John McCain and Mitt Romney.
If I didn't pretend to be one thing one day and then another thing another day, I actually governed as a conservative.
Gilmore can put together a national campaign. That's an implied criticism of potential conservative candidates who are relatively unknown, like Sam Brownback and Duncan Hunter and Mike Huckabee.
I've been an Army veteran, chairman of the RNC, chairman of the Republican Governors Association, head of the Terrorism Commission, head of the Internet Tax Commission. I've been around the block.
But is this the direction Republicans want to go? Conventional wisdom says Republicans lost this year because they moved too far to the right. Gilmore believes Republicans lost because the party betrayed conservative principles. On what?
I think on spending. I think that we have not become affirmative, strong advocates for the control of spending.
The party's base was demoralized in 2006. Rally the base, conservatives say, and Republicans will win, just as they did in 2000 and 2002 and 2004. It's a strategy that goes back to the founding father of the modern Republican Party.
I think that the people of the United States are really looking for more Ronald Reagan conservative type of leadership.
Rallying the base worked very well for Republicans when the voters in the middle were split. But this year, independent voters tilted decisively to the Democrats. So Republicans are going to face a big choice in 2008. Do they want to rally the base or try to reclaim the center?
Interesting stuff. Thanks very much, Bill Schneider.
Sure.
Well, joining me now are three distinguished political commentators: Democratic strategist Robert Zimmerman, author and journalist Thomas Edsall, and Washington Times columnist Diana West. And thanks for being with us. Diana, let me start with you. This is an interesting distinction, a committed conservative. Do you believe enough conservatives are in this race yet?
Yes, I do. I think the race is getting pretty thick and full there. I think that it's interesting to hear from Mr. Gilmore, but there's quite a variety of Republicans at this point.
Okay, Tom?
Jim Gilmore's got a long haul before he gets anywhere in this race. His governorship of Virginia was followed by a Democratic takeover, which some people blame on him. He was the chairman of the Republican National Committee, and he was basically yanked off that by President Bush and Karl Rove to bring in more effective leadership his claims are going to be a rough sledding for this guy.
Bob?
I have to tell you, watching Governor Gilmore now call himself a committed conservative. Of course, George Bush called himself a compassionate conservative. Yet this is still a party that is bereft of ideas, bereft of a plan to move the country forward. And it's very curious that all the Republicans running are trying to run by holding a seance to bring back the Reagan years and the Reagan message. No one wants to stand with George W. Bush's message. And I think that's really demonstrates the failure of the modern day right wing of the Republican Party.
Let's talk about the Bush presidency. A big day with the end of the year news conference and a lot of talk about legacy, which does strike me as a bit premature. Iraq basically dominated the entire discussion. Let's turn to what the president said about whether this was a war that could be won or not.
Victory in Iraq is achievable. It hadn't happened nearly as quickly as I hoped it would have. I know it's the fact that there is still unspeakable sectarian violence in Iraq. I know that's troubling to the American people. But I also don't believe most Americans want us just to get out now.
Diana, do you think he sums up his position well in this statement?
No, I don't, because, and I would say that this applies to all pundits, all brass, all leaders. There is no definition of what victory is supposed to look like. We know that he wants to stabilize Baghdad, he wants to stabilize Iraq so that the Iraqi government can take over, but nobody bothers to think about what that Iraqi government will look like. It will be a natural ally of Iran, and that's hard to see as an American victory in the so-called war on terror.
It's been interesting to me, and I'll get to you gentlemen in a second, that some of these terms are a little nebulous. A new CNN poll conducted by Opinion Research Corporation shows that half of the individuals polled believe the outcome of the war will be a stalemate. Let's put those numbers up. 27% say the most likely outcome for the U.S. in Iraq is victory, 50% stalemate, and 20% defeat. But there's no real clear definition even of what defeat could be. How do you react to these polls?
Well, I think the polls are very worrisome for Bush, and he is concerned that he really set forward 3 goals internationally with the axis of evil. And on all fronts, he is worse off now than when he made that announcement back in 2001. And he's got to look at his foreign policy, which is the center of his whole administration, as in serious trouble. And in a sense, you can say it's premature, but that is going to be one of his big legacies, if not the biggest legacy. And he's going to leave behind an Iran with nuclear weapons, North Korea moving towards that, if not already there, and what looks like an Iraq in a mess.
It's really the axis of incompetence. George Bush, Dick Cheney, and Donald Rumsfeld that have brought us to this situation. And it really is absolutely scandalous to now see the fact that we're facing a military that's broken. Colin Powell referred to our Army, the former Secretary of State referred to our Army as just about broken. The Chief of Staff of Army, Peter Schumacher, said that the war zone rotations in Iraq are breaking our military in Iraq. And it is truly one of the great scandals of this administration that they have taken our most precious resources, our courageous men and women who have fought for freedom and taken on the war of terrorism, and have so callously disregarded and wasted those resources and tragically put them in harm's way, even sending them into battle without the proper military protection.
Diana, the president has also announced plans to increase troop levels. How do you assess that in the context of what's being discussed here?
Well, again, without any clear purpose, I don't think that more troops are going to be the answer to our problems. We have a situation where our troops that are there are handcuffed by politically correct rules of engagement that have prevented any sort of elimination or obliteration of any sort of enemy forces.
Quite to the contrary, you're not going to achieve success in Iraq through a military strategy. Even our own military leaders have acknowledged this, like General Corelli, that pointed out, everyone has pointed out across the board that it has to be a political solution.
May I finish?
All right, let's get Diana in on this. Go ahead.
I think that a political solution is sort of ridiculous in a land where the sectarian struggle has been going on for over 1,000 years. If this is such an important front in the war on terror, there should have been a much stronger military solution at the very beginning.
Well, that's just the point. It's not a front on the war on terror. Even our military leaders have acknowledged, like For example, National Security Advisor Stephen Hadley and Lieutenant General Maples have acknowledged Al-Qaeda is the smallest military force in that region.
Yes,
It
but
is a civil war.
Al-Qaeda is not the only problem in the war on terror, which is really a war against global jihad. If we only understood the war in terms of the Islamic context, we would be able to better assess what the possibilities are and what a better strategy would be. I would say that the biggest problem in this reconsideration of the whole strategy in Iraq has been the tunnel vision that has kept us focused only on Iraq and not seen where American interests lie in preventing, for example, Iran from completing its genocidal intentions, or other countries that have been contributing to Islamic terrorism around the globe.
Tom, this speaks to your earlier point. Anything to add here?
Well, I think, one, that Bush in Iraq stepped on a hornet's nest, and he did it without being fully prepared or in any way taking Diana's point, taking her just on face value. Bush did not conduct this war in a fashion that would produce a win on any standard. And he has left behind in his wake a lot of dead people, that's true. The problem really is that in Iraq, he may have done what the Russians did in Afghanistan, where they go in, they pick a fight with a much smaller, seemingly smaller group, and they ended up getting trapped into a holy mess, and it just turns out to draw in more terrorists or turn a lot of people into terrorists, and it's not an effective way to fight terrorism.
President Bush has said that he wants Defense Secretary Gates to get up to speed. He's in Baghdad right now. How quickly can you get up to speed on the situation, or is this situation even calculable at this point?
Well, you know, this issue really is beyond partisan politics, and it has to be respected as such. And when you see the bipartisan Iraq study group come forward with important recommendations to address this issue, for that matter, General Gates, Secretary Gates, being in Iraq is important that he's there on the ground. But what's most critical is that President Bush listened to our military leaders and recognize when they say that the answer is not more troops in Iraq, but a political solution, that be respected.
Wish we could continue. We will be back to do it again. Thanks very much for joining us. Robert Zimmerman, Thomas Edsel, and Diana West. And still ahead, the results of tonight's poll, more of your thoughts, and do stay with us because coming up is a special premiere edition of CNN Presents, After Jesus, the First Christians. And that's coming up here in a few minutes. Stay with us.
Wherever Power Shot goes, great pictures follow.
Make every shot a power shot.
Here's a radically simple suggestion from eLoan. If your adjustable mortgage rate keeps rising, maybe it's time to call eLoan at 1-800-TRY-eLoan or go to eLoan.com for a fixed rate mortgage with one low monthly payment. eLoan. Radically simple.
Wow. Thanks to the latest Bose technology, it is now possible to have for the first time the same noise reduction benefits in on-ear headphones as we achieved in the award-winning Quiet Comfort 2 around-ear headphones. And now you can choose your preferred style, QC2 or the new QC3 headphones. Wear them when you fly to experience less noise at the flick of a switch. And create your own private sanctuary. Originally designed for planes, owners tell us about other uses, less distraction at work, to unwind after a hectic day, or to find your own space.
The sound quality is fantastic. Peace.
Order QC2s or the new smaller QC3 headphones. Try them risk-free for 30 days. Order by January 31st for a free MP3 player, and you can make 12 easy payments. Quiet Comfort headphones. Hear the difference Bose technology makes.
When faith rocks civilization to its core and religion becomes revolution. A special CNN Presents, narrated by Liam Neeson. After Jesus, CNN Next.
the unexpected, the unforeseen, the unimaginable. It's all possible in the future. Meet the futurists who believe they have tomorrow's solutions to today's issues. From keeping our country secure to living longer and healthier lives, predicting the shape of things to come. Welcome to the future. A special series all this week on CNN. Sponsored by Johnson & Johnson. At Johnson & Johnson, we believe nursing is the essence of caring.
Closed captioning hours provided by Nature's Tears Eye Mist Dry Relief.
Nature's Tears Eye Mist, the natural way to soothe and moisturize tired, strained, dry eyes. Nature's Tears Eye Mist. Now, doesn't that feel better?
Now the results of tonight's poll. 94% of you say the current federal minimum wage of $5.15 an hour is too low. Time now for more of your thoughts. From Brian in Iowa. He wrote to us, of course, companies like Swift and others are doing whatever they can to keep wages down. If hiring illegals does it, then they do. If our federal government fined them $10,000 for each illegal per day, I would bet they would be cleared out really fast and American workers would be in high demand in an industry that at one time was one of the best paying jobs in the Midwest. And Terry in Florida wrote to us, being in industrial construction for 35 years, I've seen whole factories that paid good wages being taken over by illegal workers. I just cannot believe Washington believes those jobs were jobs nobody wanted. And Sherry in Georgia wrote, there are many times when I want to participate in your polls, but a simple yes or no just doesn't convey my feelings. Do you think you could add hell yes and hell no buttons to the polls? And Janet in South Carolina wrote, thank you for your continuing fight for middle-class Americans. It must seem like a lonely fight sometimes. We love hearing from you. Send us your thoughts at LouDobbs.com. And thanks for being with us tonight. Please join us tomorrow. For all of us here, good night from New York. And coming up next here on CNN Presents After Jesus. But first, a check of the headlines with Carol Costello. Carol?
Thanks.